personalities, but I've never met more vibrant, amazing people than the seniors served by Meals on Wheels. As a volunteer, you deliver a hot, nutritious meal and a friendly hello to someone just like your mother, grandfather, or next door neighbor. These seniors are inspiring people with incredible stories to share, and they love to see you. The smiles you get back are priceless. Delivering with Meals on Wheels is easy, and you don't have to drive like me for it to be quick. You can volunteer your lunch break once a week or just once a month. With 1 in 6 seniors facing hunger and many more living in isolation, your lunch break can make a real difference. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Okay, Simon, what are you wearing right now?
Nothing.
That's right. And what do people normally wear?
Clothes.
Exactly. So now Mommy's going to teach you how to dress yourself. Clothes keep us warm, they look good, and if we go out without them, the neighbors will talk. So it's important to know how to get dressed. Here's how it's done. Underwear always comes first, name tag at the back, then pants, then shirt. Get the first button in the right hole or you have to start all over. If you're wearing a tie, it goes over, round, round, through, and pull tight. Tuck your shirt into your pants and zip up your fly. Socks going first, then shoes right on right, left on left. With shoelaces, just take the end, cross them over, switch the loops. The rabbit goes down the hole, pull tight, and you're left with bunny ears.
I love bunnies.
Good to know. Now remember, spots don't go with stripes, socks don't go with sandals, and if you've tucked in your shirt, wear a belt. Got it? Why are your pants on your head?
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But spending just 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier and could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. For fun 2-minute videos to watch while brushing, visit 2min2x.org. That's 2min2x.org. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
So you see, son, good manners are very, very important. Someday, many years from now, when you're a grown-up, you'll be a man. And when you are, you should be a gentleman. Do you want me to go through it one more time?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Exactly. Always say please, thank you, you're welcome, and excuse me. Sit up straight, hold doors open for ladies. If a door's shut, then knock first. Don't burp, don't swear, don't speak with your mouth full, don't reach across people's plates, keep your elbows off the table.
What table?
And don't interrupt. While we're at it, don't stare, don't use foul language, don't call people names, but do remember people's names. Always share your toys, play nice, and cover your mouth when you cough or sneeze. On the bus, give up your seat to anyone who has trouble standing. Bottom line, treat others the way you'd like to be treated. Got it?
Got it.
And stop picking your nose.
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But spending just 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier and could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. For fun 2-minute videos to watch while brushing, visit 2min2x.org. That's 2min2x.org. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
Hey, there he is. How's it going?
I'm having a stroke.
Are you going to shake my hand or what?
I'm having a stroke.
Wow, you're not even moving your arm.
I'm having a stroke.
Are you okay?
I'm having a stroke.
Your face looks weird too.
I'm having a stroke.
Are you having a seizure or something?
I'm having a stroke.
When someone is having a stroke, they may not be able to say it with words, but their body language will tell you loud and clear.
I'm having a stroke.
You just need to know the sudden signs. Look for FAST, F-A-S-T. F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. Or S, speech difficulty. Then T, time. Time to call 911 immediately, because the sooner they get to the hospital, the sooner they'll get treatment. And that can make a remarkable difference in their recovery. Know the sudden signs. Face, arm, speech, time. Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
The average time a resume spends on an HR manager's desk is 7 seconds, and most of them are tossed aside. Now imagine if one of those resumes belonged to Yasmin, who was
living in a shelter, juggling 3 jobs. I had to be resilient. That's something that you can't teach.
Or if that resume was from someone who
worked 12-hour shifts at the recycling company with my dad, who's 72. That taught me a work ethic that I carry with me every day.
We rely so much on a resume, yet it could never tell the full story of someone.
Growing up where I did, a lot of things could have gotten in the way of my goals. But I learned to push through, and that's what I bring to work every day.
So maybe it's time we look beyond the resume and look to Grads of Life. Discover new ways to develop great talent that are so much more than what's on paper at gradsoflife.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Grads of Life and the Ad Council.
Edward Lehman has been a trusted insurance advisor for over 16 years with insurance solutions for auto, home, commercial, life, and retirement. He's located at 54 Sunnyside Boulevard, Suite H in Plainview. That's just 1,000 feet south of 495. Local agent, local advice. The time to think about insurance is before you need it. So do yourself a favor and before you pay your next insurance bill, give Ed and his team a call, 516-935-3900, or visit him online at www.allstate.com/EL. Edward H. Lehman Insurance is your trusted insurance advisor.
Do current market conditions have you nervous? Our experienced team of financial professionals at Heritage Harbor Financial Associates understands that no two investors are alike. We all have different goals, needs, and appetites for risk. That's why the one-size-fits-all approach does not work, especially when planning for retirement. At Heritage Harbor Financial Associates, we analyze your unique investment style so that you can work toward your individual retirement goals on your terms. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates can help you take steps to reach your retirement goals by providing a wide array of financial products to fit your needs, even for the risk adverse. Give us a call at 631-331-6599 to learn more or to set up an appointment with one of our financial professionals. You can also find us on the web at hhfa.org or on Facebook at facebook.com/hhfa.org. Our number again is 631-331-6599. That's 631-331-6599. Investments in stock, bonds, and mutual funds and variable annuities are not FDIC insured and are subject to fluctuation in value and market risk, including loss of principal. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates offers securities through AXA Advisors LLC, New York, New York. Member FINRA, SIPC, annuity and insurance products offered through AXA Network LLC.
Be fearless at MMA Long Island and Seituha Karate. Located at 28 Colt Court in Ronkonkoma, MMA Long Island is the martial arts school for you if you want to learn combat-proven techniques, build confidence, discipline, and self-esteem while learning real martial arts to fight back against bullies, predators, and peer pressure. MMA Long Island offers group and private lessons for all ages and levels in traditional Goju-Ryu Karate, MMA, and self-defense. MMA Long Island is one of Long Island's most affordable martial arts schools. There are no promotion, belt, or membership fees, and family discounts are available. All classes are taught by 7th degree black belt Sensei John Benedict with over 30 years teaching experience. So whether you want to get in the ring or protect yourself and your family, MMA Long Island can help you reach your goals. Visit MMALongIsland.com. That's MMALongIsland.com or call or text 516-381-9660. That's 516-381-9660.
Hi, this is Terry Crews, actor, former football player, game show host, father of 5, and all-around big dude. I'm also an expert on drama. I know all kinds of drama. There's the good kind that comes with having a house full of kids. There's the bad kind like season-ending injuries. There's the necessary kind like having an agent in Hollywood. And there's silly drama like the drama around my percolating pectorals. And then there's the drama you can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency. Find free adult education classes near you and finish your high school diploma. Visit finishyourdiploma.org.
Or text diploma to 97779. Message and data rates may apply. Reply STOP to opt out. That's diploma to 97779. And leave the drama to actors like me.
Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes?
How could he do this to you? And for Sheila, she has split ends.
B, console her.
Oh, sweetie, this is going to happen a lot. 4, maybe 5 more times before you get married.
C, take charge.
Got to get this all straightened out. Keep a little talking to, man to man, mano a mano. Hey, Steve! Is now a good time? No? Okay, no problem. Bye.
Or D, help her find a new boyfriend.
I know a great place to meet boys. The internet. Nice, single boys. Never mind. How about some ice cream?
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is you over 30 years ago.
Are we there yet? Are we there yet?
And this is your mom when you drive her back from therapy.
Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet?
Roles change without us noticing. And in your new role, we help you help. AARP gives you the information to help care for your mom so that you can have patience with her, just like she did with you. Visit aarp.org/caregiving or call 1-877-333-5885 to get practical health and wellness tips to provide even better care for your loved one.
Are we there yet?
Remember, visit aarp.org/caregiving. AARP, we help you help. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
When I was little, I didn't talk for a long time. I liked things to always be the same. Anything new or different would scare and upset me. I was very sensitive to lights and sounds. It was almost like I had bigger eyes and ears than everyone else. So I built secret hiding places where nothing could get in. I didn't like looking people in the eye. It made me feel uncomfortable. I'd throw big tantrums over little things like when my socks didn't match. Sometimes I'd do the same things over and over. Until one day, I found out I had autism. My family got me help. Slowly, I learned how to live with it better.
You can see signs of autism in children as young as 18 months. Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
What are you talking about?
No, it's not him. There's only one more. There is only one more. That's it. One more.
Get a rest!
No!
They saw your team put up zero effort.
Wake up!
Remember in the old days, they used to have oxygen for them. Where's the oxygen?
Play like absolute just garbage.
This is the Sports Loudmouths.
Yay!
Man, can you keep it down? I'm trying to introduce here. With Errol Marks, Speedy Petey, and Josh Silverberg.
You're not even a has-been. You're a never was. You're a never was. You're a never was. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. It's all three of us this time. It's not me and It's not me. It's not me and Speedy Petey, but it's also Josh the Homer Silverberg. Come on, Speedy.
Boo, everybody. Everybody, I hear the crowd booing. Boo, boo, Josh.
Well, that we wanted to hear that sound effect, but of course, Josh ruins everything, like always. Remember, you can listen to our show every single Wednesday and Thursday at 9 p.m. You can call us at 631-965-4990. You can also do this. You can go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Download our app at on iOS, WWSRN, or Android, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. You know, Josh, you ruin everything. So
I don't even know what I did there, but to be fair, I did do that on off the mat yesterday a couple of times. Speedy could attest to that. I did flubbergust my words a few times on the show.
Well, you're gusting your words with your internet over there, as everybody knows. Anyways, we got a great show lined up for you guys as well. A lot of stuff happening today. Bob Baffert was suspended for 2 years by the race. I guess you could say, what do we call the racing organization? Churchill Downs. I guess Churchill Downs has suspended him for 2 years. So that's going to be, he's a Hall of Fame horse racing trainer. So he'll be out for 2 years. Mike, Coach K. I don't know why you say Mike Krzyzewski. It's Coach K. He is retiring after 2022, and he named his successor. And then obviously Danny Ainge steps down. We will talk about that in a few minutes. And then I don't know why you wrote this. Browns retire Myles Garrett from the hoops. So he's not even a professional. He's not even a professional basketball player, you idiot. So I don't know why you would post that and send that to us. Hey, you know what we got to talk about? We got to talk about Myles Garrett and his hoops career. Who the hell cares?
I didn't put it on the feed, Josh. So we're not talking.
I only put all that in there. I mean, there was a lot of good topics to talk about. I don't know why Adam Schefter decided to add that, but of course he had to add a football story because he's Adam Schefter. So
Myles Garrett and Patrick Mahomes, who are both banned now from playing basketball, could play one-on-one secretly.
Who cares? How's that sound? It doesn't matter to me. It shouldn't matter to you. Who cares? Anyways, obviously the New York Knicks. And by the way, shout out to Carl. I coached John Shire back in the day. Well, terrible pick by Coach K. I'll just say that. I am a diehard Duke fan, and picking John Shire as the head coach is ridiculous.
Carl Errol hopes he does well, but not optimistic.
I'm not. You're talking about one of the greatest college basketball teams in the nation. It's been one of the best basketball programs, and I would say in the last 25 years, it's been one of the top programs. And Coach K stepping down, it really affects him. Shout out to Clarence. Hopefully he stays on for the whole feed. But we have a great show lined up for you. And let's get into some basketball, by the way, because Danny Ainge comes out after the Brooklyn Nets knock off the Boston Celtics in game number 5 and ends their season. And Danny Ainge steps down and gives it to Brad Stevens. Here's the problem with this. And I'm going to go, by the way, shout out to Jimmy Jardine. We haven't seen him in a while on the feed. Here's the problem with, obviously, the situation with Danny Ainge and the Boston Celtics. Danny Ainge in the last 3 years has done nothing for the Boston Celtics. If you look at the draft and what they have done in the last couple of years in the draft. Now, they did land on Tatum. Tatum was a sensational player. He's a sensational player. I believe he's a superstar in this league. He's obviously their best player. Kemba Walker was a bad signing, and I am a huge Kemba Walker fan. But so far in the last 2 seasons, in his first season was pretty damn good. After that, he hasn't been good for the Boston Celtics. And then Jaylen Brown can't stay healthy. So after getting eliminated by the Brooklyn Nets, Danny Ainge stepping down was a surprise. But he was either going to get fired or he was going to step down. I think the markings on the board was he should step down. And Danny Ainge, I think, he was a great basketball player, was a good basketball player, played for the Boston Celtics practically his whole career. He was a journeyman at the end of his career. And obviously, he's been a good GM for the Boston Celtics. Since he's been there, he's only won 1 championship. 1 championship with Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen, and Paul Pierce. All those teams, all those draft picks generated by the Brooklyn Nets or whatever, New Jersey Nets, they all turned to nothing but really Tatum. That's all it really turned out to be. Now, I'm not saying Tatum isn't a good player. I think Tatum's a great player. He's a fabulous player. And I think he's a player that you can build your team around. But one player, and everybody's going to say, well, what about Jaylen Brown? Jaylen Brown, even though he was an all-star the last year and a half, well, I would say 2 years, Jaylen Brown can't stay healthy. He has had problems staying healthy for the last couple of seasons. And he's a good player. But he's not Tatum. And I think giving the reins to Brad Stevens, to me, is crazy. You're giving a guy that's never been a GM. He was a college coach. Then he was an NBA coach. He has never gotten over the hump. He's never went to a championship game. He's never gone to an NBA championship. He's been to an Eastern Conference championship. He could never get over LeBron James. Now you're giving him the reins. And whoever he brings as a coach, and who knows who that's going to be, he's going to have to bring, not a rookie, he's going to have to bring in a veteran coach, a guy that knows what he's doing and that preaches defense, because this team in this series against Brooklyn Nets, and I know the Brooklyn Nets are just that much better than them, and they didn't have Jaylen Brown, but even Kemba Walker playing, Kemba Walker wasn't 100% healthy. They don't play defense. They don't. And that was the problem in this series against the Brooklyn Nets. If they played defense, this series might have been, maybe they would have won 2 games. I don't think they would have won this series, but they might have given the Brooklyn Nets a little bit of a challenge. But obviously, that was a huge story. I want to know your guys' opinion. Speed, first with you. What did you think about hearing Danny Ainge stepping down after the game, after the Brooklyn Nets eliminated him, the Celtics 4-1?
Yeah, I think like you were saying, it was inevitable that he was either going to get fired or he was going to leave like that. Again, Brad Stevens going to the front office now, I don't understand it either because he is good as a coach. I mean, I would consider him a top 10 coach still. Yes, he hasn't gotten over the hump. I understand that, but he's still been good with certain aspects of not necessarily higher level player development, but getting good bench guys, drafting, not great, but again, drafting guys to fit his system, which I think is a big reason why guys like Tatum and Brown have succeeded, where a lot of people were skeptical in those drafts of whether they should have been drafted that high. So I think there are strengths to him, but I don't like him. I don't like him in the front office. I don't really think he's that type of guy managing money, stuff like that. I'm a little worried about that. And what you were saying about it, they have to hire experienced coach. I don't know if that's going to happen because he's a young guy. So it's very interesting. Carl mentioned it in the comments section. His whole career has been making the most out of middle of the road talent, right? Which is what you do as a head coach. And I don't know if you can necessarily do that as a GM. So I think it's very, very strange that they did this kind of thing. I don't like it. Ainge going was inevitable, but I don't really like it in terms of Stevens. Carl said Brad Stevens makes the push to hire Juwan Howard, but Juwan won't go. That's also very interesting, but I can see Howard getting other NBA jobs too.
Josh, what are your thoughts?
I was surprised. Like you said, it was very inevitable that it was going to happen. He had been there for how many years has he been there? I mean, it's had to be in the double digit
years,
right?
16 years.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was surprised at how fast everything kind of moved, right? We heard that. I think I called Errol. I called you this morning to tell you. I said, "Oh,
I knew all about it before you even told me. I knew all about it before you told me. I was hearing it came up on ESPN on my app saying that Danny Ainge is thinking about stepping down, and then probably about 25 minutes later he stepped down. And I didn't know it was Brad Stevens, but then you actually told me that it was Brad Stevens. I thought it was crazy to give a guy that has no GM experience and taking over for an organization that is really, for the last couple of years, was ready to win. They were a team built to win. And Danny Ainge didn't make a move for a big man. For the last 3 years, they had a chance to bring in a big man at the trade deadline, and they never did. They had Andre Drummond right there for the taking. They didn't make the move for him. They didn't trade for him. And then he went. He was dropped. He was released, and he goes to the LA Lakers. They could have used him in that Brooklyn Nets series. So I think it was horrible, absolutely horrible for the last couple of years. They didn't give. Danny Ainge didn't give him a big man, and that's a huge problem moving forward for the Brooklyn Nets. And they're going to have to be looking for a big man. I know what Jeff's going to say. Well, what about this guy on the bench, and what about that guy on the bench? They didn't do it in this series, so what do you think they're going to do next year? They're going to be looking for a big man in free agency.
Like Carl was saying, they make the most out of middle of the road players, but they are missing that other superstar in a quote unquote super teams era, or again, like these dynamic duos that we're seeing now. They never got that second guy. We've heard Anthony Davis over the years. We've heard Karl Anthony Towns. We've heard DeMarcus Cousins. The list goes on, and he did nothing outside of getting Kemba Walker. And like you were saying, Earl, nothing to fix the big man position whatsoever.
And I mean, by the way, I want to say something. The Knicks need to take Julius Randle out of the game. He is absolutely costing them this game. He is absolutely screwing up. 5 balls thrown over people's heads in this game. It's just horrific. He is terrible.
7 bad shots too.
He is terrible, man. He is absolutely horrendous in this series. Go ahead.
Clarence says, Boston Celtics organization is a mess. They're not winning no championship for another 10 years. And Stug says, not winning no championship. Actually, in normal English means Celtics will win the championship.
Go ahead, Josh.
I mean, I was saying, well, I was trying to before, and then everything went off on a tangent. But anyway, besides that, it's when you look at the whole thing with Brad Stevens being taken on in this role, it's fascinating, right? Because when I think about it, it's a matter of, okay, what if he does build something good in Boston, and then he decides, all of a sudden I have the niche to coach again, and then, hey, I'm going to fire that guy, and I'm going to take over as the head coach. We saw Pat Riley do it with Stan Van Gundy, right? We've seen it done plenty of times in sports, period. And it's really Lou Lamoriello used to do it with the Devils all the time. He used to take over all the time to be the head coach in the playoffs. And it was something that I think when you see it, listen, do I like the role that Stevens is moving into? No, I don't. I think it's going to be too much for him. I think he's in over his head with this.
Brad Stevens will be fired in 3 years as the GM of this organization. He is a great coach. He should not be moving into a GM position where he has no experience. They should have brought in a guy that has experience and leave the reins to the coaching to Brad Stevens if they think that Brad Stevens is their guy.
It's a matter does he want to coach? But does he want to? But that's the thing, though. Is he still? Does he have the? Personally, I think he's going to end up just walking away eventually on his own, just going back to college. That's what I do think he's going to end up doing. I think he I don't think he's going to stick around here long. I don't.
He would have done that already, though, because remember how much money he was offered from Indiana. So
that's fine, but at the same time, though, I think in the back of his mind, this was probably something that had been in the works anyway. I mean, how did everything move so fast where Danny Ainge steps down and then 20 minutes later, Brad Stevens is taking over as president of basketball operations.
Ainge was already on the hot seat as it was, but a 7 seed in a year where they were projected to be at least top 4 seed doesn't look good on Stevens' part. But again, you're right. He's still a top 10 coach. Very strange. Carl says Brad Stevens is a top-end talent evaluator. He has made the most out of mid-level talent. Yes, which is why I don't know if he's going to be a GM. Ben says Bucks winning it all. Clarence says when 2031, LOL.
Well, he's talking about the Bucks. I will say this. Brad Stevens is a great talent evaluator, but if you look at the talent that he's evaluated the last couple of years, besides Jaylen Brown and besides Tatum, the evaluation has been garbage. There's nothing there that really stands out from that organization. That organization went from a top-end talented organization, a top-end Eastern Conference team, to one of the worst Eastern Conference teams to squeak into the playoffs. What were they, a 9th seed, a 10th seed getting into the playoffs?
They were a 7 seed, and they had to win the play-in game against the Wizards to get in, to begin with, when they were supposed to be a top 3 seed.
Well, let's also look back at it this way, right? So they tried to, a couple of years ago, they made the trade for Kyrie Irving, okay? And what happened was Kyrie basically no-showed for them all the time, playoff-wise, injuries, everything. And then he said he was going to re-sign with them. He wanted to be here for the long haul. He wound up leaving. Afterwards, what happened after that? He leaves. They had to make an emergency signing. They had to replace Kyrie Irving. Was Kemba Walker going to have the talent of Kyrie Irving? Not even close. Was he somebody that you could replace the stats? No. But they had to make that signing because they had to pretty much say to the fan base, okay, Kyrie's leaving. We have to replace him somehow, some way. And the best point guard other than Kyrie that's on the market at the time was Kemba Walker. So that's why they made that signing. I mean, because also you have to remember, Terry Rozier was also on this team, and Rozier had a nice year. Then he wound up going to Charlotte, and well, that was a disaster of a signing by the Hornets. That doesn't make any sense to me. Gordon Hayward did not work out either. Gordon Hayward did not work out, and there was so much put in place with that because of the Butler connection. It was going to be perfect. They were going to get back to their roots in college. Stevens and Hayward were so close. And again, he had injury issues as well. So it felt like every time, and I'm not making excuses for Stevens, he is a good coach, and he did struggle at times, though, with the way the game is. But every time he did have a superstar player try to come in here to Boston, a la Kyrie Irving, Gordon Hayward, Kemba Walker, they've had injury issues. And when you have those injuries,
that's not his fault.
No, it's not. And that's
they haven't played well under his system. All the free agents that they brought in didn't fit the system. None of them did. And the fact that Tatum has fit the system over the last couple of years is pretty damn amazing. I think Tatum has been sensational. He has been a superstar player. He deserves all the credit in the world. He scored that 50-point game against the Brooklyn Nets, and that's the only reason why they won against the Brooklyn Nets. Anyways, we have a first caller of the day, because if we have you speaking, he'll never shut up. Here we go. Jeff from Tampa. What's going on, Jeff?
You guys are so off base on almost everything you guys say. It's comedy at this point. It's actual comedy.
Why is it comedy? Let's hear this.
Danny Ainge, listen, there's no doubt Danny Ainge had to go because there just becomes a point where things just don't work anymore. But Danny Ainge was a great GM
really?
For Boston Celtics.
Great GM, huh?
Hold on. Mm-hmm. Let me explain to you. Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, brought them all in. Great move. They won a championship. He fleeced Brooklyn for those bums. By the way, another great move for Danny Ainge. He fleeced them for those bums.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Okay.
What did he give up for Kyrie Irving?
Okay. What did they win with Kyrie Irving? What did they win with Kyrie Irving?
What did he give up for Kyrie
That's
Irving?
fine, Jeff. That's great.
See,
no, I don't. Do you want me to go with it? What did he give up? Let's hear it.
It was Isaiah Thomas, I think, a first-round pick and a second-round pick.
All right.
He gave up a guy not even in the league anymore. That's a great move.
Oh, great move. And what did Kyrie Irving do with Danny Ainge's Celtics? What did he do? What did he win?
Listen, it didn't work out because Kyrie had the press conference. Although I'm staying, I love all of you. I'm staying. Just because Kyrie lied doesn't mean it wasn't a great trade. You got Kyrie Irving for Isaiah Thomas. Where's Isaiah Thomas?
Okay.
seeming like a Brad Stevens system fit. He hasn't done well with any other team.
And look at the draft picks he got with the Brooklyn Nets.
By the way, he's been a great drafter. Robert Williams blossomed as a player. Jaylen Brown been an all-star. Speedy's most overrated picks. Do you remember when Speedy was doing the most overrated picks? Jason Tatum with 50 in the playoffs. How overrated is he now, Speedy?
I didn't say he wasn't good. I'm not holding that against him, Jeff.
How overrated is he now, you dumb cunt? How overrated?
All right, relax.
And I never said that Danny Ainge was
You guys
bad.
are wrong. You don't want to just say, hey, I screwed up. I was wrong. Speedy, is he overrated?
People are ranking him a top 10 player.
He made your top 3 most overrated players dropping 50 in the playoffs. Where's your hero, Julius Randle, now?
I never overhyped Julius Randle, Jeff.
You absolute numbers monkey. You have no idea what you're talking about.
Jeff, I never overhyped Julius Randle.
You have the IQ of a squirrel. You're an idiot. Most overrated. Oh, let me put Jason Tatum on my most overrated.
Well, I will say this.
Jeff, don't worry. You're only the second person.
Jeff,
to
I
call
will
me a
say
squirrel.
this. Out of all the moves that he has made, finding Jason Tatum in that draft, he was the best player in that draft by far. Not even close.
Donovan Mitchell.
Better than Donovan Mitchell. I think he's going to be better than Donovan.
And by the way, traded down to get him.
Yes, he did.
Traded down to get him.
Yep, 1 to 3. Yes, he did. He went 1 to 3.
Traded down to get him.
Yes, that was a great move.
Yep.
And you can argue.
Listen. Danny Ainge is. They don't call him Trader Danny for nothing. You guys aren't giving him credit for all the really good moves that he made.
What would you rate him? What would you rate him as a GM? And be honest now, not because you're a Boston Celtic fan.
No, I'm not. I don't think I'm blowing it up, but here's legitimately the thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's still a top 15, 16, 17 GM.
Okay.
There's a lot of teams,
all right.
There are a lot of teams that are run pretty poorly. Danny Ainge could go and run another team and be an upgrade to at least half of the league.
I will say that. I wouldn't argue with that. I would say he's a top 15, 16 GM.
I'm not sitting here saying that, he's the best GM in the league or whatever, but he's made a lot of great moves that have worked out. Now, listen, has he been there a while and have they won a championship? Well, they won because of one trade. Kevin McHale kind of gave him a gift, and that's fine. But you're also discounting, I don't know why Brad Stevens is moving into the job. Listen, this happens in basketball, and you guys know it as well as I do.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes when you're a coach and you've been there for a while, your message doesn't ring true anymore. Sometimes it just starts to fall on deaf ears, and sometimes you just need a fresh face and a fresh voice in there.
Mm-hmm.
Brad Stevens, make no mistake about it, is one of the smartest people in basketball. So moving him into that role and going, I don't understand. He's never been a GM before. Well, guess what? You're never a GM until you are. What are you supposed to recycle all these shitty GMs every time?
No,
Is that the move that you want?
Jeff, here's the problem. And this is my argument here. You have the Celtics. They're a very well-known organization. And you have a guy who's been a coach his whole career, who's never been a GM, and you said, well, he has to become a GM one way or another if he's going to be a GM. You don't usually become a GM with a top team in the NBA. The Celtics are one of the top 8, one of the most known organizations in professional sports.
Sorry,
Second,
they're not this year. Sorry,
no, they're not, and that has a lot to do with coaching too. That has a lot to do with Brad Stevens too.
But again, this is why coaching changes happen. By the way, across the league, sometimes your message, and by the way, everyone was like, Brad Stevens, top 10 coach, top 5 coach, top whatever coach, right?
Yes. Hmm?
He's a smart basketball human. Instead of saying, there's no way this is going to work, let's go, well, I don't get it, but let's see. Because you're like, I guarantee Brad Stevens is gone in 3 years. That could happen, but he's also such a smart basketball guy. Maybe, just maybe, other people know more than you do.
No question. And I'm not saying you're fully wrong about what you're saying. I am not a Danny Ainge fan, not because I'm not a Celtic fan. I never liked him as a player, and what he has done over the years,
what
he made some.
As a player has nothing.
I know. Hold on one second. I didn't say what I wanted to say. I thought I didn't like the Jaylen Brown move. I was wrong about Jaylen Brown, and I've come back and said that on this show. I never liked Jaylen Brown. It was. I didn't like it in the beginning. I thought he was out of his mind. I think that was the first Nets pick that he made a pick on, and he picked Jaylen Brown. I was like, that's a terrible pick, and that was a top 3 pick. He was right about Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown was a good pick. I like Tatum. He came from Duke, and he turned out to be a great player. And besides Donovan Mitchell, like you said, Speedy, he's the best player in the draft. And I still think Tatum's a little bit younger than Mitchell, and he's less with injury. I think Tatum has more upside than Donovan Mitchell. So I think Tatum was the best.
And just by the way, he's drafted better all around, because say what you want about all the other players. Terry Rozier was one of his draft picks. Terry Rozier is pretty good. Oh, he plays for the Hornets, so I don't like him. Terry Rozier is a damn good player.
That's what I said.
Damn good player.
Carl said he hasn't had to evaluate top-end talent, and now he has to go gut top-end. Yikes. Snug says, keep in mind that Ainge retired. He didn't resign. Retiring means that he probably discussed long before the end of the season.
He's coming back. Everyone needs to pump the brakes. He's coming back.
They just didn't want it to be a distraction for the playoffs. Carl says it's all the same in this case. Carl says, haha, Speedy getting raked over the coals and still can't admit he's wrong. Carl says, how about Speedy's message? Does it ring true with you, Josh? Haha. And Snug says he clearly has a strong relationship with the front office. They would rather have somebody they know rather than someone they don't. Everyone has to take that step forward to a GM for the first time.
Right. And by the way, we should point out whoever made the comment, haha, Speedy getting raked over the coals. That was Carl. And they can't admit he's wrong. Carl's absolutely right. You had him top 3 most overrated players in the league. How'd he do? Speedy? How'd he do?
Okay. He played well in the playoffs. That's fine.
How would you say your analysis went? I don't know. In the shitter? Would you say that's correct?
He played well in the playoffs. I still don't think he's a top 10 player.
You're a numbers monkey and an idiot who just wants to try to sound smart, and you look retarded now. Congratulations.
Let's give Brad Stevens this credit as well. The guy 2 years ago, 3 years ago, got to the Eastern Conference Finals with a young Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Who's a Kyrie Irving?
Who was the point guard that brought him to the Eastern?
That's Jeff. That's what I'm trying to get at. Terry Rozier was the guy, and I mentioned before that I like Terry Rozier. That it hasn't really worked out great in Charlotte, but he was a good player in Boston. The problem was Kyrie Irving was feeling offended because he was taking minutes away from him, so that's why they felt they had to get rid of him. And you see it with Isaiah Thomas and with certain point guards. Brad Stevens does better, I think, with more under-the-radar point guards than he does with superstar players.
I think that's what Carl said.
Can I ask Josh a question?
Sure.
Josh, do you think Speedy looks smart or retarded right now with Jason Tatum's the top 3 most overrated motherfuckers in the league?
I'll go with that one. He does look that way. I mean, he looks
stupid, doesn't he? Listen, people are wrong. Can you just go, hey, shit, I was wrong?
But the thing is, too, I didn't even mention that. I agree. I thought Danny Ainge completely fleeced a lot of teams. Like you said, Jeff, you go back. Dude, the Brooklyn Nets trade was ridiculous. He fleeced Brooklyn with that trade. That set the Nets back for years up until this year or last year or whatever it was. And then 3 years. And they started the big 3. Danny Ainge started the whole mantra of the big 3 with Garnett.
No, he didn't.
The Miami Heat did.
The Miami Heat did.
And by the way, a Danny Ainge team took them out on the way to the final.
No, but I'm saying he got the whole round.
Hold on one second, Josh. It was a trade. That's how they got Garnett, and that's how they made that trade.
That's a great trade by Ainge. He completely listen. Did Kevin McHale help out the Boston Celtics? Sure.
Absolutely.
You know what? He takes advantage of it. I mean, you don't think another organization would love to? I mean, Danny Ainge would be hired right now if he stepped away, or maybe he wanted to take a year off. Maybe that's what he wants to do. But if I'm still interested in a job, a team will come calling in 2 seconds for him.
And let's not forget, there was a point in the league where he was known as Trader Danny, and people wouldn't trade with him around the league. They refused to trade with him because he always won trades, and teams were always wondering if they were getting fleeced. And for like 4 or 5 years, they wouldn't trade with him. They were like, holy shit, are we getting taken advantage of? Stay away from Danny Ainge.
Yeah, that's why they were always rumored and never got anybody.
Shut up, Speedy. You got no room in this conversation. Shut
And he also didn't. He also he drafted
third player then, Jeff.
Didn't he? He drafted Rondo also, didn't he? And Perkins.
Speedy, you owe everybody with ears that heard what you said an apology.
Jeff, give me a third player on that list for me to replace him with on that list then.
Ben Simmons.
Late, Speedy. You said it already.
I can't even make a free throw. Ben Simmons was my 1, my 2, and my 3. Ben Simmons. Has he made a three-pointer in this decade? Ben Simmons.
Unfortunately, he made one against the Knicks.
Yeah. Jeff, somebody should have the speed on that one. Jeff. I feel like Jeff's going to have a stroke on the
Tatum is the worst player in the league. So overrated.
Carl says,
numbers monkeys. They're morons, these numbers monkeys. Speedy, go read a book, stupid.
Carl says, Jeff brings up an interesting point. I never heard Speedy admit he was wrong. Errol has, Josh has, but when you think Speedy is about to be, he adds another point to fluff his point.
Right. That's what you do. You can never sit there and go, I was wrong. Do you know why? Because you're an idiot numbers monkey and go, what numbers say? But my number. Yeah, do you know what do your numbers say when Jason Tatum drops 50 in the playoffs and single-handedly beats a big 3 by himself? What do? You go, but Jason Randall's going to be voted most improved.
But nobody's ranking Julius Randle as a top 10, top 20 player. They're just saying he's a rising star. If people did that, okay, I could put Julius Randle there too.
You were wrong.
Okay.
You were wrong. Is Jason Tatum one of the top 3 most overrated players in the league?
From what I thought of last week, yeah, it might change next season if we do that
last week, and then your eyes told you you're retarded.
It might change next season, Jeff. I don't know. If somebody gets overhyped next season, like maybe
gets overhyped. You were wrong.
I don't judge on one game, Jeff.
Listen, he showed you through this whole playoff series, and they might have only won one game, but he dragged that team around by himself. Who else was going to step up?
All right, let's look at Jason Tatum's numbers.
Carl makes the point. Let's go back to Carl's point.
No,
he can't just say, I'm sorry, I was an idiot.
Jason Tatum this year in 64 games averaged 26 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 assists. He's not overrated. 38% at the 3-point line, field goal percentage 45, free throws 86. I mean, those are really good numbers.
And by the way, doing it most of the time by himself.
Mm-hmm. So no, Jason Tatum's not overrated. He's a great player.
No. I heard from Speedy that he is, so it must be true. He's always right.
Well, nobody thinks that Speedy's always right. I think he looks at numbers and Jason Tatum in certain games he's fallen off. But if you look at his numbers, the numbers show that he's a great player. He's been an all-star for 3 years.
You're admitting numbers monkeys are retards.
No, I don't think numbers monkeys are retards. I think that numbers don't always sell the player. It doesn't sell the player. And to me, Jason Tatum's the only reason why the Celtics made the playoffs. He's the only reason why. And by the way, the Gordon Hayward move was a bad move by the Celtics. That was a bad move.
It wasn't a bad move. Is it like, here's the problem with what you're doing. Oh, Gordon Hayward, it didn't work. It's a bad move. Who the hell thought that he was going to get undercut on the first possession of his first season there and tear every ligament in his ankle and break his leg and shatter everything? You can't account for that. It's an unfair metric to go, oh, well, that was never going to work, because at the time, Gordon Hayward, by the way, who didn't make Speedy's most overrated list, right?
Well, he's barely thought of now. Waited.
Right, but at the time, he was one of the best players in the league, and it was a great signing. How do you know who's going to jump and break his leg? Did we know Jusuf Nurkic was going to go for a rebound and snap his leg everywhere? It's a freak injury that changes the metrics.
And Jeff, you want to go back to that discussion?
Dude, enough for you. Enough for the most overrated. Enough out of you. I've had enough.
I actually did all injuries against players when we did that segment too.
Listen, can we get to the real talk? Can we get to Islanders Bruins? Islanders Bruins. Can we get to the real talk?
No, we'll get into that a little bit later. Okay, there's really nothing to talk about that right now. We're in basketball right now. You can't go right into Islanders.
I know, but I mean, look, Jeff is here. I mean, when Jeff, let's get it all out on the table here, man.
What is there to talk about? The Islanders Bruins. It's 1-1. They're going back to the island.
That was a hell of a freaking. I mean, that was a hell of a game too, man.
It was.
That was one of the best hockey games in a long time.
See, this is what Josh is trying to do. He's trying to stir up a fight because I feel one way and you're going to feel another about how they play.
No. I'm waiting for Lau to come on the air for that, Jeff.
honestly, right now, if you were to watch this series, the Bruins are going to win this series. I just think they're the better team. And now if the Islanders do what they did in game number 2, they can maybe squeak out of this series. This is coming from an Islander fan. I think the Bruins are just a better overall offensive team.
I mean, if we're honestly looking at game 2, and I'm not trying to minimize the Islanders winning, I'm not trying. The Islanders got lucky. That first goal was a pass that deflected and somehow magically went in. The winning goal, by the way, was a good pass that just caught a bad break and bounced perfectly for Cizikas. And dude, it's puck luck. There's a thing as puck luck, and it bounced the Islanders' way. I'm not minimizing or saying, oh, they shouldn't have won or whatever, but they had puck luck on their side twice in that game. The Bruins have shown so far they're the better team.
Nobody's taking that way.
Outside of the Cizikas goal, which was complete puck luck that it bounced, have the Islanders scored a 5-on-5 goal?
No, first of all, no. Jeff, I'm not taking away. If you were to ask me who's been the better team in the first 2 games, it's definitely the Bruins. But here's the thing. That doesn't mean that the better team wins the series.
I'm not discounting that. I'm not discounting that because the goalie could get hard because, let's be honest, Sorokin off the first game. He wasn't on. He was off.
No, and they should have never taken him out.
Who thought Varlamov was going to play as well as he did?
I think that
he played well. I don't care what you say. He played well.
Oh, he did play well. But how do we?
I know that you hate him.
No, I don't hate him. I don't hate him. I think that Sorokin's a better goaltender, and I think if you're going to depend on one or the other, I'm depending on the guy that to me is the better overall type of goalie. Now, first of all, Snug keeps saying the Islanders are garbage. You're absolutely wrong. How are they garbage when they knocked off the number 1 seed in the Pittsburgh Penguins? So why don't you keep your 2 cents to yourself, Snug? You're wrong. And another thing, 100% lucky. They weren't all 100% lucky.
I didn't say that.
No. I'd say you. I'm talking about Snug. I'm reading what he is saying. They weren't 100% lucky in that game. It was a hard-hitting game. It was a great game.
The Bruins made unforced errors, right? Like Pasternak shouldn't have run into the goalie. That was an unforced mistake that the Islanders cashed in on. Mike Riley. We just picked up Mike Riley. Shouldn't have played the puck with a broken stick. That's an automatic penalty. They made some unforced errors, but shut up, Speedy. You got no room to say shit no more with your Jason Tatum. Shut up. That's an unforced error. The Bruins made some unforced errors, but puck luck is what won the Islanders the game.
That's fine, and we've seen that in many hockey games in the playoffs.
No. We have, but puck luck generally only wins you a game or 2.
That's true.
If we're talking about the best team, it probably looks like Bruins in 6 right now.
No question. The Bruins are the better team. Now the Islanders going home, that gives them home court advantage.
That gives them a boost.
Yes,
it certainly does.
Yeah. Now, if the Islanders could come out with 2 wins, which I don't think they're going to win both games, but they'll win one of these games. They have a very good chance of taking this to 7. I think that this series goes 7. That's what I predict. Okay.
And the thing that might help the Islanders the most, Tuukka Rask is hurt. You're probably going to see Jeremy Swayman tomorrow night,
which gives the Islanders the advantage. So
yes, that's what I just. Yeah. Are you listening?
No. I'm agreeing with you. It gives the Islanders the edge in this game, and might be the edge if Tuukka Rask does not play for the rest of this series. It could give the Islanders the edge for the whole series. So I think that the Boston Bruins are the better overall team. But again, going back to what I just said, I have seen a lot of. Look at the Islanders last year. They played a lot of teams that were much better than them. And they went all the way to the Eastern Conference Championship against Tampa because with systems always work in the playoffs. And Barry Trotz's system has proven to work in the playoffs. Now, it's only 1-on-1 championship, but again, it's worked.
Your analysis is spot on, but it's not why I called.
I got you.
Let's get back to why I called.
Yes.
Let's get back to why I called, which is Speedy's retarded. Is Jason Tatum one of the top 3 most overrated players in the league? By the way, that was a cake he had last week.
Carl says that is like saying Derrick Rose was a bad pick because of 2 all tiers. Ben says Tatum is currently outside the top 20 in the ESPN rankings. Jokic is 1, Giannis is number 2. Carl says ACL. Snug says it changes the metrics and the matrix. Ben says Harden is number 3, who, by the way, that was my number 1.
If Tatum, hold on one second, Speedy. If Tatum is in the top 25, which I think he is in the rankings, he is in the top 25, he's a star. He's a star. If you're in the top 25 in the NBA, you're a star.
No. He's the most overrated.
You could be overrated and be a star too, Jeff.
He's the most overrated.
James Harden was my number 1 on that list. I'm not going to say James Harden's not a superstar.
He's so overrated. It's unbelievable. Terrible player. Get him out of the league.
Jeff, overrated does not necessarily mean you're not a superstar. Errol says Steph Curry's overrated. Steph Curry is still a superstar and has been in certain years. James Harden was number 1 on my list.
Right. Hang in your hat on Errol saying that Steph Curry's the most overrated. Doesn't mean you're comparing yourself to smart people, Speedy. You're wrong. Just admit it.
I'm saying they overrated is based on a lot of different things.
That's right. You're never
Most
wrong.
of which, including
You're a genius.
hype. A lot of people overhype guys.
You know what?
They were doing a comparison with Jason Tatum and Luka Doncic. Are you seriously going to say that's even close?
You know what, Speedy? You should be the next GM of the Celtics. You are smarter than everybody. You're the smartest guy out there. You know better than everyone. I say Speedy for GM. Get it in the comments. Speedy for GM.
Like Lyle for president.
Oh, God.
Carl, remember when I told you guys?
Well, hold on. Lyle thinks that Barzell is overrated.
There's a lot of people out there with idiotic takes. That just is what it is. And by the way, Josh, listen, you're rising to the top on this show. You've made some very good points, and now look at how smart you look next to Speedy's. Jason Tatum's overrated. It's unbelievable.
He has the voice.
Last week I wanted you off the show completely. Today I think you should be the host.
I remember you wanted to replace you with Gerard, and Jeff. I even said in the comments, I said we can make that happen.
And you agree. You agree.
I agreed with it.
Carl says, remember when I told you guys how the main NBC announcer said the Maple Leafs were the best team and the Lightning were overrated? Haha, told you he was.
Oh, God.
Leafs being classic Leafs. Snuck says, Snuck, we already read that. Carl says, I was taken back to, it was on a local show by me. He says there's a new movie coming out called The Conjuring 2. The Devil Made Me Do It. That should be the title if Speedy ever admits he is wrong. Steph Curry's the 2021 MVP. And Carl says #Speedy for GM.
I mean, that's what it should. That's what it should be. Like The Conjuring should be like, oh, if Speedy ever admits that he was an idiot. You know, I mean, it happens every night. It's so ridiculous. And by the way, you brought up Gerard here, Josh. Gerard's a genius compared to Speedy.
Oh, dude, Gerard! Jeff. I'm so upset I missed Gerard last week, man. He was awesome. Listen, you guys were trying to pay. You were telling people to pay for Mark's electric bill. He was in the dark. You guys were rough.
Speedy's Jason Tatum's overrated comment is ranking up there right now with the cut on Tom Brady's hand wasn't real. We're getting into the future for things that don't exist. This is what we're doing.
Don't worry. At least I didn't say Ezekiel Elliott could run on Barry Sanders' offensive line.
Well, that's
you have no fears. I think you're retarded tonight for sure. But at no point in life am I going to think you're lower than the bees.
Okay. Just making sure of the credentials.
Anyways, to get off that subject, how about the Knicks, man? They have been absolutely. This has been horrible. Julius Randle,
absolutely beautiful to watch Tatum, the most overrated player, get knocked out of the playoffs. But Julius Randle and his unbelievable most improved player, because he's so amazing and he's not overrated.
Oh man, he's
get ass slapped.
Absolutely horrible. He's been absolutely horrible in this series.
Let me ask you a question, Errol. You seem to be a fair-minded person tonight. The 2021 NBA playoffs, who are you taking on your team? Julius Randle or Jason Tatum?
Jason Tatum.
Jason Tatum.
And is it even close? When the light shined the brightest, who showed up?
Jason Tatum.
And that's true.
No, sorry, you're wrong. He's overrated.
When did I ever say, Jeff, that Jason Tatum was worse than Julius Randle? Julius Randle, as of right now, is a one-season wonder.
But by the way, the Knicks were a higher seed than the Celtics. Julius Randle, everyone was saying up for MVP. Jason Tatum wasn't in that conversation, but somehow Tatum's the overrated one, and Julius Randle doesn't.
Julius Randle just did it 1 year. I don't think anyone's rating him as a top 10, top 20 player.
And by the way, the only reason why the Knicks
Randle been in the league forever and should know better, right? Jason Tatum, he's a puppy. He's getting stronger. Do you
And
remember?
at no point
watching
was Jason Tatum worse.
Do you remember watching Billy Madison, the puppy who lost his way? Do you remember when Billy Madison? Who ends up winning at the end? The puppy. The puppy. He keeps getting stronger and stronger. The puppy who lost his way.
Oh my God, Billy.
I will
never put him above.
And let's be real here.
So overrated. Sorry, Jeff, but he just is.
People that are comparing Tatum to guys like Luka Doncic are the people that are overhyping him.
Was Jason Tatum at any point in the MVP conversation this year?
No.
Was Julius Randle?
No, I don't think so.
Yes, he was.
Yes, he was. He got. I think he got.
If Speedy can't even admit Julius Randle was in the conversation, were people at the Garden screaming MVP?
Yes,
well, of course.
And I'll tell you this. Going back into this game, I think Trae Young is an amazing player. He flops way too much. This league has become a flopping league. This guy, all he does is flop, flop.
If flopping were on this show, Speedy would be doing it right now. If you're wrong, you dummy.
And then Young's pushing people, and he's talking. I can't stand this kid. He's more. I hate him more than Steph Curry. He does. I hate him more than Steph Curry. Watching him play in this series and nag, saying what he was saying. I just don't like him.
You hate him more than Reggie Miller.
More than I hate the Bees.
I never hated Reggie Miller. I never hated Reggie Miller.
Hate him more than I hate the Bees.
Yes. Yes.
Wait, that's a new extreme.
Yes, I think Trae Young is a big baby.
And let's be real. The only reason why the Knicks won one game is because Julius Randle got hot for 5 minutes in game 2.
It's funny because
that's the only reason why the Knicks won one game.
It's funny because just last week
he's supposed to get hot, duh.
You were saying how Trae Young is fun to watch and he's going to surpass Steph Curry in his career, and now you're saying he's less likable to watch than Steph Curry.
For him, Speedy.
You've burnt all your credibility. No one's listening to you.
I just watching this series really just makes me agitated. It really does, and it gives me agita because this team, what I've seen, and I know they were the 4th seed, and the Knicks had a sensational year, but watching this playoff, they're definitely not ready. They're definitely not ready.
Wipe everything out this year?
What happened? No, this was a great season for the New York Knicks. And anybody that thinks that it wasn't.
Can we just talk about, though, Errol, for a second? I've been saying this to you for about a lot of sports for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Winning. Now, listen, you can have all the criticism that you want about the New York Knicks, and I'm not going to begrudge you that, and that's fine. But this needs to happen. Winning is learned as a team. And you need to come in and you need to take one on the chin. Listen, how many times did the Chiefs take one on the chin and they were in and out of the playoffs and out in the first round every year? And they went on to win a championship. This is what this team needs. They needed some playoff experience. They got it. Let it leave a bad taste in their mouth. They'll come back stronger next year. Like, I'm not begrudging you that they stink this year. They do. Okay? They do. They're losing to a lower seed team. And badly. Right?
Well,
they're gonna get.
Well, I think the Hawks should have been the higher seed. The only reason why the Knicks won the 4th seed is because the last 3 games were winnable games for the Knicks.
And they barely won them. And they barely won those games.
Go ahead, Jeff. What?
Even if they're 4A and 4B, it should be closer than a 4-1 series.
Oh, no question. No question. And I blame Julius Randle. And Julius Randle, I do not extend Julius Randle in the offseason. I wait the next full year. He has 1 more year left on his contract. See what he does throughout the season and throughout the playoffs next year, and then make a decision if he's part of the solution or not.
Just so you know, Errol, with all your criticism, Julius Randle, not in Speedy's top 3 most overrated.
As nobody ranks him as a top 10 player. They're just saying, okay, Julius Randle's a breakout player. That's all they are. Right now, he's a 1-year wonder. I haven't heard anyone else say he wasn't.
Except when you were ranking people, by the way, last week, and everyone was chanting MVP of Julius Randle, and now
they're going to do that. It's their best
player. And now
player.
He's laid up 5 eggs. 5 eggs he's laid.
Okay.
They're going to lose by 20.
Also, the Knicks fans going to chant MVP.
Breakfast for everyone. Julius Randle is throwing eggs.
Nobody said he's realistically going to win MVP. That doesn't mean the fans can't chant it.
I mean, it's just crazy. They're going to lose in this game by 20-plus points at home in a must-win.
Mm-hmm.
I know you're talking about taking on the chin.
Once again, Josh, you are correct. They're going to lose by 20-plus points, proving once again you know more than Speedy. You're being elevated across this show. Just keep saying smart things. Stay away from instead. Stay away from two-part questions, and you're better than Speedy already.
Well, I did. Listen, I will say this. I did pick the Bruins to win the series in 6.
And you're going to be wrong. And you're going to be wrong.
And I had the plus. Before the playoffs started, I had Colorado, Boston in the finals.
Well, good for you, because you're going to be wrong about that. It's going 7 games.
So if it goes one more game and the Bruins win,
that's fine. You might think the Bruins will win, and right now with what I've seen with both teams, the Bruins have played better hockey, and if it continues like that,
come on up. Let's go to the game in the Garden. Let's do this.
Well, it wouldn't be at the Garden. It'd be at the Nassau Coliseum.
No, I mean, it's going to Game 5 at the least. Even if the Islanders win 2, let's go to Game 5. Everyone except for Speedy's invited. Let's do
this. Should we go to Danny Ainge's house or Brad Stevens' house? Which one should we go to, Joe?
I'm already in Rhode Island. Let's do this. Let's go.
Oh, you're in Rhode Island?
I flew up. Yeah, I flew up earlier this week. I'm just hanging out here chilling, bro.
Awesome, man.
Go.
Awesome, man. There you go.
I came up. I flew up here. Because I couldn't stop in New York because A, the Beeve lives there, and B, the Beeve lives there. So let's go. By the way, Snug, this one's for you. Hashtag make the Beeve move.
Speaking of Snug, he says, I don't know. I wouldn't be so quick to keep Josh if Gerard is still out there and available. Carl says, Jeff, you should have seen Speedy duck out of Josh's show last night. It was Mark-esque. Again, I don't Josh caught me off guard.
Oh, Speedy, I told you to say hi last night. It takes him 5 minutes to turn his camera on, and then he goes, hi. And then he shuts the camera off again. And I said, what the hell was that? It was like a blink of an eye. He's gone. I gave him the moment.
It doesn't matter. Speedy shouldn't have shown up at all because no one's worse than Mark.
Well, I mean, then again, we still haven't had Lyle on the show yet tonight, so that could be another cause for concern.
I'm sure we'll hear from him.
Mark and the Beeve are going to start a new show, and it's going to broadcast live from a dumpster behind a Planned Parenthood.
And by the way, really quick, to Snug's point, by the way, about Gerard replacing me, Snug, I'm all in on that idea, by the way.
But this is what makes you great, Josh. You can listen and look at someone else and go, wow, he's really great. He's smart. He knows what he's doing, right?
He's good.
You can do that and go, wow, I have something to learn. You know who can't do that? Speedy. He's always right.
Well, I will stick up for Speedy.
Wait a second. Wait a minute. You
wait a minute.
On this show for weeks and weeks, and you never stuck up for me.
Actually, I do stick up for you.
One time.
Yes, I do stick up for you.
Oh, bullshit.
And second of all, well, you are a homer. You can't say that you're not.
Oh, if I'm a homer, God almighty, you hit a grand slam every time you're at bat.
Really? Do I really? Did I say the Islanders are going to win this series? No.
You did. You told me on the phone 27.
No, I didn't. No, I did not say that.
Did. Yes,
I said, did you not hear it?
He said Islanders in 7.
Not hear what I said? Did you not just hear what I said? Did you not?
You said
I said the Boston Bruins are the better team. I wouldn't be surprised if Boston would win this series. If the Islanders win this series, they got to be a gritty team, and they can win in 7. That's what I said. That's what I said. Don't call me a homer. Don't call me a homer because I'm far from it.
See what I mean?
Far from it.
See what I mean?
See, Josh even talking to you and not in a two-part question.
but you see, the thing is, I get called a homer, and it's like, okay, fine. But I call somebody else a homer, and it's not even you. It's whether it's Lyle or anybody, and they get so offended by it. But
because if I'm a homer, I admit I'm a homer. I'm not a homer on my team. Dude, are the Yankees playing good baseball right now? They stink. Even though I think if the Yankees were in the National League East, they'd be in first place.
Oh, they'd be wonderful.
By the way, I don't want to hear the homer talk either. The Red Sox were in first, and I said they stink, and they'll be in last before the end of the season.
I will. The only time I think sometimes you're a homer is when it goes back and forth with the Patriots. That's the only thing.
By the way, all my Patriots points are true. Was the cut on Tom Brady's hand real?
No.
I know someone that didn't think it was.
No, but that was my opinion at the time. And that was probably my stupid take I've ever taught. But you want to know something? At the point, I thought it was. Because nobody showed until you sent me the picture. I didn't believe it.
Here's the problem with you, Errol. You believe in conspiracies and you buy into the hype. Was Deflategate real? No, but you bought into it.
All right, we'll get some more comments in. Ben says, hashtag Miss Lippy's Carl's Green, whatever that means. Snug
That's
says,
a Billy Madison reference because I talked about the puppy who lost his way, which is
the kindergarten teacher.
Snug says, Trae Young is amazing. He is a pure Knicks.
Of course he thinks that.
Knicks killer. Ben says, hashtag you get out of there and find that dog. Snug says, the beef is also a big baby.
Nobody is all, by the way, nobody in sports media is always right. Nobody, and anybody that thinks
That's
that they
not true.
are.
Have you ever heard? That's not true. Have you ever heard Speedy say he was wrong about anything?
Jeff, I know I'm wrong about certain things. I don't need to publicize it all the time.
Wait, hold on, really quick before Speedy, you continue. Can we just give a prayer to Owen Powers tonight for his already career being a bust, going to the Buffalo Sabres, #1 overall in the next few months after they won the lottery tonight? I mean, that poor kid, man. That poor kid's going to go play with Rasmus Dahlin, and they're going to ruin both of those guys.
They'll be traded at the same time.
Oh, my God. Poor kid.
Carl says 3 straight turnovers for the Knicks, and 4 out of the last 5 possessions were turnovers. Carl says Josh, he has the Lightning in the finals, not the Bruins. Snug says,
I had the Bruins.
No. I think Carl is saying he has the Lightning. So,
he's the Lightning. Okay,
yeah.
That's fair.
By the way, not a terrible take. The Lightning are a juggernaut.
They're ridiculous to win those 2 games in Carolina.
By the way, which is another reasonable person. Replace Speedy with Carl. Where is Carl?
Okay, Jeff, you wanted me to admit I'm wrong? I picked Carolina. You happy now? I admit I was wrong.
Go ahead.
About something that isn't relevant to anything. Good for you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
They were my
read
at the start of the year.
Read off everything everybody said.
Okay. Snug says, okay, please, Mark the Beef Lyle all live on the radio. Yeah, poor Mark has to watch Gerard, though, what a pro broadcaster looks like. Oh, yeah, I remember the Islanders in 7. Carl says, hashtag Josh two-part questions. Clarence says,
that Carl and Gerard show has to be wild because Gerard is so smart. It must actually look like he's trying to help Mark learn how to read.
Jesus Christ.
Clarence says Hawks closing out the Knicks. NBA update. See Speedy Errol's admitting he's wrong. And Sugg says, I don't know. I think when you said the NFL find the Pats big comeback versus the Falcons was pretty stupid, or fixed the Pats comeback.
That was my opinion, and I'll still stick to it. And Snug, you say a lot of stupid things too, by the way. And you sit there and you laugh and you say the dumb.
Blasphemy. Snug is one of the smartest people around.
Snug needs to stick his little fur ball up his ass. How's that sound? Okay.
Blasphemy. Absolute blasphemy. Snug is an absolute treasure
Good.
in America.
He can ride his unicorns over the rainbow, okay?
Snug the cat should have his own bust in the Smithsonian.
Well, anybody that's going to visit him in the Smithsonian is going to probably die by looking at him. Anyways, so turn to stone.
Speedy couldn't even spell Smithsonian.
Yes, I can. I'm not the one that has trouble with vocabulary and spelling on here.
I do.
Yeah,
by the way. Why are you throwing me under the bus, Speedy? Why are you throwing me under the bus?
That's what you get when you stick up for him. You see,
he can spell all right, but he just has trouble deciphering who's overrated.
Oh God. Oh man, Jeff, you could call back in a little while. Thanks, Jeff.
He needs the decoder ring out of the Cracker Jack box. Good for you, Speedy.
Thanks,
Moron.
Jeff.
Absolutely.
I'm sure we'll hear
moron.
I'm sure we're going to hear from Jeff again.
No, I don't know. I've almost had it with you people. The idiocracy of going. Danny Ainge is one of the best. He made a lot of great moves. All I'm hearing is slander. No one gives him credit for everything. No one. You guys are just slaying.
Well, hold on one second.
You New Yorkers are being dragged.
Wait a minute.
Right now, down by 20 in a closeout game.
Hold on, Jeff. Hold on one second. You said, first of all, and he just hung up. Jeff said that Danny Ainge was a top 15, top 16 GM in the NBA. How is he one of the best?
I mean, I said he did a lot of good things when you asked him.
Every GM that's there for 16 years could do something. Garth Snow did great things for the Islanders, and he also did ridiculous things for the Islanders.
But wait, hold on. Did Mike Milbury do great things?
He wasn't there that long. Mike Milbury was there for that long.
For everybody's sanity.
He was there for like 6 years, and they fired his ass.
That was 6 years too long.
Yeah, well, good for him. But I would tell you this. Even Garth Snow, who was there for almost 10 years for the Islanders, did a lot of great things when it came to drafting. A lot of the players that they have right now, a lot of their big time superstar teams that they've had are great. Are great players for the Islanders. Pulak was Gart Snow draft pick. I mean, I could go up and down. Josh Bailey was a Gart Snow pick. What's his name again? On the I'm sorry, I'm all back and forth.
Brock Nelson.
Brock Nelson. Practically that whole team was drafted. Anders Lee was drafted by Gart Snow.
Even an underrated one. You could even say Anthony Beauvillier.
Beauvillier
was another one. He's been so clutch for the Islanders in this freaking playoffs.
He did draft. By the way, he did draft Tavares as well. He had very good drafts, but a lot of Island fans take shots at him for his free agency. He brought in Andrew Ladd. He brought in this guy. He brought in that guy. And they never really panned out. But he's been good. If you look at Gart Snell's drafts, they were very, very good. They were. He found talent, and they turned out to be good players for the Islanders. So, again, he brought Casey Cizikas to the team. He's the one who brought Matt Martin to the team. I mean, Clutterbuck. He brought all those guys. That's why he built the best fourth line in the NHL. So, again, and by the way, Carl, we know that Trae Young is putting the Knicks into shame.
Yes,
we know it's over. We know. The game is over. And RJ Barrett's going to be attacked by the New York press because he guaranteed a win. He guaranteed a win, and he shouldn't have. He's not Mark Messier. He's not the leader. If it was Julius Randle guaranteed a win, that's different. And Julius Randle, by the way,
is the last person that should be guaranteed.
Julius Randle's getting 3-pointers now when they're down by 15.
Julius Randle is going to have a lot of talking and speaking to the NBA and the press this year, this offseason, because he's been an absolute joke in the playoffs. He has. And a lot of this loss against the Atlanta Hawks has a lot to do with Julius Randle's game.
Carl asks, more annoying, Spike Lee or Jerry Jones? I'll go Jerry Jones on that one.
Both of them.
Yeah,
Both
really.
of them annoying. Both of them are jokes. But anyways, getting back into the NBA. And by the way, LeBron James is one game away of being eliminated in the first round, which would be the first time LeBron James has ever been eliminated in the first round.
Crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And again, I mentioned on the Weekend Crunch last week, like Anthony Davis, could he re-injure himself because he's never had those kinds of injury issues in the past with somebody that size? Obviously, him missing
they're done.
Game 5.
If Anthony Davis doesn't play in the next game, they're done.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're done.
Yeah, because LeBron's going to get more attention. Obviously, he does great still amidst all that, but he's going to get more attention where he's not going to have that same level of supporting cast. And Phoenix's guys as well are starting to heat up offensively. And if the Lakers don't do well defensively, which Anthony Davis is a big stalwart for that, they're not the same team.
If the Lakers get eliminated and Anthony Davis doesn't come back, I say Brooklyn wins the whole thing. I do. What are you going on for?
All of MSG is clapping historically for the Knicks right now, and as they're doing that, Trae Young gets another 3.
Well, listen, I'm done watching Trae Young. And by the way, they're going into a series that might be without Joel Embiid.
Yeah, that's right.
They're going to win that series. They're going to win that series.
Yep.
They're going to win that series. And Atlanta's going to go to the Eastern Conference Championship.
Jeff says Trae Young's performance is the exact opposite of Speedy's. Ben says Jerry Jones. Clarence says Lakers in 7. No, he still has some faith.
Okay.
Anthony Davis is going to have to play, Clarence.
If Davis doesn't play, they don't.
And then Carl says, can Philly do anything without Embiid? Wizards don't count. They will have to have their depth step up, which is going to be very hard. Jeff says Speedy is the Los Angeles Lakers of the show, overrated and should be eliminated. I love Trae. Snug says, I love Trae Young's swagger.
Well, good for you, Snug. Obviously, you do because he's killing the Knicks and you hate New York teams. So thank you, Snug.
I'm just convinced Snug likes every NBA player you don't.
No, he likes everybody that I don't like. Okay, and that's fine. I could care less what Snug likes or what he doesn't like. I'm not upset by it. He's got his own opinion, which his opinions do vary in his own little thoughts and admirations. But I'll tell you this right now. Watching this series and watching this game, the Knicks have a lot of work to do in the offseason. They really do. And I feel bad. I feel bad for this team because this team did very, very well throughout the season. They get into the playoffs and they got completely, totally beaten and embarrassed by the Atlanta Hawks.
And as they say that, they're showing they show Wesley, they show Perry, and they show Rose right there on the bench. And that's when it starts to think. Now you have to wonder because there is still one more year on the contract of Julius Randle. I don't think they're going to get an extension. I don't think he's going to end in.
No, he's not. Not this offseason.
And with Derrick Rose as becoming a free agent, they have to figure out, is he a guy they want to keep around, or is
he'll get the veterans minimum. They'll bring him back.
I agree with you on that. I think they definitely should do it that way and still bring in a legit point guard. But now you're going to also wonder is with trades, they have assets and pieces to trade for players. Does if the point
picks?
What?
They got picks.
They got picks. They got players. You could trade. Listen, if they get eliminated in the first round, Damian Lillard says, I want out. You don't think the Knicks are going to be first in line? If Bradley Beal says, I want out of Washington, they're not first in line. They're going to want something like that. That's what they're going to want to bring in here. Julius,
if you can get Damian Lillard, you bring Damian Lillard there. You're going to have to give a lot. You're going to have to give up a lot. You're going to have to give up your 2 firsts. You're going to probably have to give up possibly a Quigley or an Obi Toppin and maybe more assets. You might have to give up 3 firsts.
I would do it. And you know what? Honestly,
32. I don't know if you do that.
Go look at that game yesterday. Go watch that game yesterday.
All it takes is one injury for Damian Lillard. His career is over, and you just gave up a ton of
athlete, though. But that's any athlete, Errol. That's going to be the thing. It's a young athlete. It's an older athlete. Like Jeff said,
you're going to give away your future for one player, and that one player is not going to win you a championship.
Look, the Nets gave away a ton for their future, and look what
that's the Nets. They're a bunch of morons.
Why? They're going to probably go to the final.
Yeah, well, that's because Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant decided to sign with them and not the Knicks.
Well, listen, first off, the Knicks' fault for not doing the Durant thing. The Knicks did that to themselves, not doing the Durant thing. That's on them. For Steve Mills, who's a genius, by the way, real dummy, for not even giving Durant. And by the way, Steve Mills, a moron. I understand you knew Kawhi Leonard wasn't going to sign here, but for the love of God, if the guy is offering you a chance at an interview, take it. Put your foot in the door. Get involved.
I'm not getting Kawhi. He's not leaving. He's not living in LA.
I'm talking about 2 years ago.
That's fine. He was going there.
Hold on.
Going to the Clippers.
Okay, but if the Clippers get eliminated,
everybody and their mother knew he was going to the Clippers.
But if the guy is, I understand that, and we all knew that. But if somebody's offered you an opportunity to meet with you, you take the opportunity. You say, "Nah, I'm going to cancel."
Points. I wouldn't have.
Nah,
he's not going there. You know, he's definitely not going there. Why would he go to the Knicks? Let me ask you that question.
He wasn't going to go to the Knicks.
He wasn't. So why even give him the interview?
Because
you're wasting time. You're wasting money. That's what you're
wasting money. How are they wasting money? They had enough room for 3
months. Take him out to dinner. You got to wine and dine him. Okay? And he still wasn't going there.
Okay, so let me ask you this. So if Jimmy Butler opts out of his contract, and as he has said, he wants a max deal with the Knicks, should the Knicks offer Jimmy Butler a max deal?
No.
You don't want Jimmy Butler?
No.
I don't think they're ready for that right now.
Jimmy Butler's not going to help them win a championship.
Right.
No, I agree on that, but I think he can make them at least a little bit better. I mean, look, if you bring in Randall, they can bring another guy.
They're going to have $60 million. The Knicks are going to have $60 million this offseason, which is the most in the NBA. They have $60 million. Okay? What do the Knicks do? Well, they're going to have to decide what they're going to do with Julius Randle. And I think, honestly, Julius Randle isn't the goods. And if you can move Julius Randle and get something for him, I would do it. I would do it. Okay? I don't know what you're going to get for him after this playoff run, but I think you could get yourself a star player, maybe a Bradley Beal for Julius Randle and a player, maybe a pick, maybe 2 second-round draft picks and Julius Randle for Bradley Beal. I would do that. We've got the Knicks got 5 or 4 second-round draft picks this offseason. I would move maybe two of those second-round draft picks and Julius Randle for Bradley Beal. I don't know if the Wizards will do that. Maybe they want a first for Bradley Beal, but you can get Bradley Beal over there, and then maybe you go with Dame Dimes or Danny Dimes or whatever the hell they call him.
Dame Time.
Maybe you can make that trade with Portland. Give a first this year, one of their first this year, and maybe a first next year, and a Quigley, and then you got Dame Time, and then you got Beal. Now you have 2 players that you could build your team around and you can win with. Okay. Then Bradley Beal is still a young player. He's 26. Dame is 31, 32 years old starting next year. You might have 2 good years with him. You got to win. You have a 2-year window with him. Then you're going to have to really, then you have some money laying over. Maybe you get a veterans middle. You bring Derrick Rose in. Maybe you bring in somebody else for like $15 million, a shooter, a wing player. And then you're a championship competitive team in the Eastern Conference. But that's a lot. That's a lot to do in the
That was a dirty hit by Shai. I'm watching the Canadians. That was a dirty hit by Mark Scheifele.
Jeff says, Julius Randle, your MVP. Carl says, Dame Time, 2 number 1s, and Quigley. It would probably take more than that.
If that's the package, I'd do it in 2 seconds.
Ben says 103, 89 Hawks. Carl says, no max for Jimmy Butler. Love him, but not max money on the Knicks. And Carl says, asks Julius Randle the Bulls. Anyone that's interested you on the Bulls? I say no. I say no as well.
Zach LaVine is the only person that interests me on the Bulls. He's the only one.
Don't
I don't think the Bulls are moving him.
No.
Do not throw Laurie Markkinen at me. I don't want any part of that.
Nobody. The Knicks aren't bringing Laurie Marker in it.
I'm saying, don't give me any packages with him involved. I don't.
Markkinen is not coming to the
right.
Knicks.
The only way that would happen is if it was a 3-way trade or something like that, and maybe he's an extra piece for the bench or something like that.
Speedy likes the 3-way.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Jimmy Butler is not a guy for the Knicks, especially Jimmy Butler's getting old. I think he's going to be 30 next year. So you don't bring Jimmy Butler in. The only person that you bring over the age of 30 is Damian Lillard. I call him Dame. Dame
time.
Whatever. But if you're going to bring in Dame, you're going to bring him in for 2 years. He's got 2 good years. That means your window to win a championship is 2. Okay, that's not a lot. So,
but what's Chris Paul's age right now?
Chris Paul's 36.
I mean, why can't Damian Lillard still progress till he's that age?
Because Damian Lillard has to prove that he can do what we've seen Chris Paul do year in and year out. Chris Paul has been the best point guard in the league for like 9 straight seasons. He's been a dominant force.
I love Chris Paul. I do.
Hold on one second. Chris Paul has taken teams that were really bad and he's taken them to the playoffs. He hasn't won because he can't stay healthy. Dame Lillard has played for very good teams with very good young talent, and they couldn't get over the hump in the Western Conference. They've been to one Western Conference championship, which they got knocked out by Golden State. They got demolished by Golden State. So to me, you look at Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard has a 2-year window with the Knicks. That's the way the Knicks have to look at it.
Yeah, that'll give him an urgency to go for another superstar.
He only has 3 years left on that contract anyway.
He only has 3 years left on the contract, and the type of player he is, he's going to probably want somebody else. Otherwise, you're just dealing with the same the Eastern Conference.
I just told you, you could get Bradley Beal.
Right.
You get Bradley Beal in Dame time, and then you have 2 players that you can build your team around. Maybe you're not going to be able to keep Julius Randle because you'd have to trade him for Bradley Beal. Right. So, and then if you bring, you still have money left over. Maybe you have 19, 18 million. Maybe you bring in another free agent that will want to come and play with those 2. And then you have your 3. But then your bench, you got to keep building your bench. You can't give up Toppin. You can't give up some of the young players that you have, the Knoxes of the world. And he's just a fit-in player. You know, they don't have, but you also got to pay. Are you going to bring back what's his name again? Who was hitting the threes tonight? Pollock. Are you going to
bring and Burks and these guys?
Yeah, these guys are going to have to get paid too. They're gonna want money too. They're not getting a veteran's minimum. They're going to want to get paid.
What about with a guy like even like Ntilikina? Like, where does he fit in all this? Because he still has, I think, another year left. You know, I mean, because the thing is, when Tibbs got hired, I actually thought he was going to fit in perfectly with the Knicks with Thibodeau because it's all about defense, right? That's what he preaches, defense. And Ntilikina is arguably the best perimeter defender that the Knicks have, and he barely used him. And he honestly just kept going to Payton.
That's going to be his role, though. He's going to be a defensive specialist in that kind of instance. We're not going to see him play starter minutes, especially if Lillard and Beal are there, or even
no, of course not. But Speedy, at the same time, don't you think that Frank should have started over Payton?
Of course.
So then that's the thing. Like, I feel like Tibbs never even gave him a shot.
No,
like he never even gave him.
That's the one thing I haven't liked about him. Whatever his infatuation with Elfrid Payton is,
because he's stubborn at times. That's the thing. He's very stubborn, and he has a certain rotation. He doesn't want to change it. Do you know how much it probably took for him to take Payton out of that rotation to be convinced to do it?
Too late.
And that's what it was. They lost the first 2 games because they kept them, you know, I mean, that's not the reason why they lost. Of course it's not. They got completely outplayed. But let's be real here. The first 8 or 9 minutes of the game, every game they were down by 10 points, 11 points. And it was like a net negative out there with having Payton even. What did Payton even do? He can't guard Trae Young. He can't play offense. He's missing it. He drives to the rim.
On 2. And let's get over this. As far as the playoffs are concerned, this has been a good first round. It really has. I mean, a lot of the series have been very, very close besides the Knicks series. And honest to God, and the Nets series with the Celtics. These have been, the Western Conference series have been very, very close, very fun to watch. So I've been very, very excited with the NBA playoffs as well. And even the NHL playoffs, which is always fun to watch.
Oh, yeah. The best playoff.
Yes, it's always fun to watch. But let's get into some football conversation. I know a lot of people have been missing it. The Julio Jones saga. And this week, Julio Jones will be traded. I mean, the story's coming out. Adam Schefter came out that there will be a trade this week. And you know who's in the lead to get him? Seattle. The Seattle Seahawks are in the lead now with Vegas. Have Seattle winning and making the trade for Julio Jones. And if they could get Julio Jones, I mean, they've been known to give up first rounds, but they don't have any first rounds because the Jets got it. I mean, but there are stories coming out of Seattle that they're willing to give up a second round and possibly a fourth round for Julio Jones. What are you guys' thoughts with Julio Jones going to Seattle if this happens?
Doesn't make sense for either team. The Falcons.
Why not?
The Falcons need defense. The Seahawks don't have that. The Falcons need draft picks. The Seahawks really don't have much of that. And
second and a fourth.
The Seahawks, the one thing they do have is receivers. They don't need receivers. They just drafted one in the second round for some weird reason. Lockett and Metcalf are fine. They have a passing attack and don't have anything else. They don't have.
You put Julio Jones on the inside of Metcalf. They don't have the best wide receiving duo in the league.
They're one of them.
What else do you have?
I'm sorry.
What else do you have?
You have Lockett. You have three dominant wide receivers that can catch the ball.
No, I know that, but what else besides a passing attack do you have on that team? You're basically the Dallas Cowboys.
That's fine. And you can win like that. And Seattle has won like that year in and year out. Now, their defense is definitely weak. They added some defensive players in the draft. We'll see what they could do defensively. But you put Julio Jones with DK Metcalf and Lockett, you have one of the most explosive offenses in the league. And that would make your quarterback happy. And that's what they need to do. Keep Russell Wilson happy.
You'll have to hope that the rest of the
You're wrong, Speedy, on this one, too. You're wrong on this one, too.
I don't get how you can't say it wouldn't help the Seahawks.
Because
you're getting a top 5 receiver in the league. How does it not help Seattle?
Because you give other things where that money is better well spent on helping out your defense, helping your offensive
line. At the same time, Speed, there's really nothing defensive that they can really get to upgrade right now. So you might as well just upgrade something to make your quarterback happy.
Right. Atlanta's in the same boat too, where Atlanta has to upgrade on defense. So why would they also trade with the Seahawks to begin with? Seattle and Atlanta right now are
that's the story right now. That's the story right now. Seattle is the lead. So what are you saying? You know more than anybody else does?
No. I'm not saying that it doesn't mean they're a favorite. I'm not reporting on what people are saying. I'm saying it doesn't make sense for either team when Seattle and Atlanta right now are very similar.
They're trying to make their quarterback happy, Speedy. Do you not understand that? He wants out. He's been talking about it.
How are Atlanta and Seattle even similar, though? Seattle's got a way better quarterback than even Atlanta does. It's not even close. So how does it make the
strengths and weaknesses of the whole roster construction? I know Russell Wilson's a lot better right now than Matt Ryan, but I'm talking about the roster construction of Seattle, the roster construction of Atlanta. They have very similar strengths and weaknesses. When you make trades, you usually do it to either one, rebuild, which they're both in similar situations to do that, or two, try to trade a strength for a strength of another team and make both teams better. That's what you try to do in a trade. Seattle and Atlanta are too similar.
Sending Jamal Adams to Seattle, did that make the Seattle Seahawks better?
No.
Okay, so why did they do it?
I don't know why they traded as much as they did for Jamal.
All right, there you go. So they did it, even though you said that they make the team better. It didn't make the team better.
It still was a need.
Made them worse.
Time. It was still
really giving up 2 first-round draft picks for Jamal Adams.
I didn't say the package was good. No,
I'm saying it wasn't a need. It made the Jets better, and it probably made the Seattle Seahawks worse.
Who was the Seahawks safeties before Jamal Adams?
It doesn't matter. What did they played better without Jamal Adams in the lineup?
Okay, but that doesn't justify the trade either way.
Well, what does justify Julio Jones? If you send Julio Jones over there to the Seattle Seahawks, are they a better team? Yes or no?
A little bit, but not much.
A little bit.
Oh, not a little bit. Come on.
A little bit?
Josh, you're improving an area that's already strong, and Julio Jones is not going to get the same amount of targets either. You're going to downgrade each other's.
You're going to have to double team one or the other. You're going to open up the field. It's going to take pressure off the offensive line. What are you talking about?
The offensive line is still a different role altogether.
Well, first of all, Speedy, if you have 3 legitimate wide receivers that are all-stars, okay, Julio Jones that you need to double team. If you don't double team him, he is going to catch the ball. He's going to outrun you. He's going to outleap you. He's going to out everything with you. He is going to be able to run routes, faster routes, and open up the field for the other players, the Locketts, the DK Metcalfs. It's going to make them better. It's going to make the offense a lot better. They were one of the best offensive teams in the league. They're going to be even more explosive this year with the wide receivers that they have. And is it going to make them better? It's going to make them extremely better because you're adding a top-end wide receiver. Yes, he's 32 years old, but Julio Jones in the right offense, on the right team, is going to be elite.
But I'm not downgrading Julio Jones, the player. I know what he's capable of. I'm saying in terms of the Seahawks' current situation, it doesn't make sense for them to overload.
Did the Broncos make it to the Super Bowl? Did the Broncos make it to the Super Bowl when Seattle completely outplayed them?
Yeah.
Why did they make the Super Bowl?
Because of their offense, but they didn't.
How many weapons did they have on that offense?
Right, but they didn't invest first round, second round picks in it. They've drafted all those guys. That
has nothing to do with it. You can win with top-end offense. We have seen teams. Now, I don't know about winning a Super Bowl, but it'll make Russell Wilson very, very happy if they can go to the Super Bowl in the NFC and beat off the Green Bay Packers or one of those top-end teams. If Aaron Rodgers is there, that would make him happy. How could you say that Julio Jones going over there is only going to make them a little bit better? It's going to make them a lot better.
Because it doesn't solve their other problems.
It doesn't matter. You're not going to be able to solve that problems with one trade, you moron. How are they going to solve that problem?
Right, that's what I'm saying. It's not one off season that's going to solve their problems.
That doesn't matter. You're trying to make your quarterback happy, are you not? Your quarterback has come out and said that they're not building a team. They're not doing anything that's helping the team and making the team better. Now, you got a chance to get Julio Jones, one of the top-end wide receivers in the league, to put on the other side of DK Metcalf and Lockett, which you just paid $60 million, okay, or whatever what they paid him, a significant amount of money. You're going to tell me it's not going to make them a significantly better team?
So what happens if the Seahawks passing attack is again amazing, their offensive line is terrible, their defense is terrible, they go 8-8 in that very difficult NFC West, and Russell Wilson still wants out? Then you have Julio Jones' contract strapped onto you to spend for more free agents. That's going to make it even worse.
They're ready to win now, Speedy. Do you not get that in the head?
He's in his what? He's in his early to mid-30s now.
He's 32 years old, 33 years old. He's ready to win now. You want him to be happy. They're right. He's telling him he wants to be traded. How many times have we heard this over and over and over again? You want to make him happy. Here we go. We got Jeff. I knew Jeff was going to call again. Jeff, what's going on?
I mean, I just can't take Speedy anymore. I just can't. I'm going to break. You guys are pushing me to a breaking point. Speedy, let me ask you a question. Oh, then you have Julio Jones's contract strapped down in the end. What's Julio Jones slated to make this year?
It's in the 20 million range right now.
No, it is not. It's 15 million. Good for you. What's he slated to make in year 2 and year 3? And by the way, those are the last 2 years.
Yeah, it's less than that. I know that. It drops down.
So it's 15 this year, and then how much is it? And it's exactly the same year 2 and year 3. How much, Steve?
Okay. Can you think?
How much? There was the question.
Okay, I got you. It's 15 million. But let me ask you a question. With all the other weaknesses Seattle is 15 million better off spent in other positions?
But what? Who's out there? Who's out there, Speedy?
No, Speedy. This is why Speedy's an idiot. Oh, but then they're going to have his contract shot through. It's 15 million in year 1. Year 2 is 11 million. Year 3, 11 million. You name me another receiver in the league making 11 million. You think that is going to be?
I didn't say a receiver. I said a position of need.
Okay, hold on, Jeff. Let me ask you this question, Speedy. Okay, a position in need. Now the free agency market is over. Now you're going to cut players. Now cut players can be brought in on lower extension contracts because they're being cut for a 1-year contract. You have a chance to get one of the top wide receivers in the NFL for $15 million. You're not going to make that move?
What's Allen Robinson making? More than that.
20-something million dollars.
More than that. Oh, and by the way, and when the cap goes up and receiver salaries go up, and Julio Jones that is making 11 million and then 11 million, guess what? That's a bargain, you retard. So when you say to me, oh, with Julio Jones' contract, what exactly in the hell do you mean?
I didn't say it was a terrible contract for every team. The Seahawks, it doesn't make sense because they have a gajillion holes in other areas.
They're not going to have to give up much. Don't you get it?
I mean, what are they going to have to give us? A second and a fourth?
A second and a fourth, and I'm hearing that possibly a third and a fifth they might be able to get.
If they do a third and a fifth, I'm doing that in 2 seconds.
Exactly half of top receivers' money. Half.
Okay. Yes, let me ask you a question. Is Atlanta going to settle for a third and a fifth when they're getting first-round offers from Tennessee and several other teams?
I don't know what they're going to settle for. The price may vary, and what they might accept might change. Again, you're going to call me a homer, but the Patriots who offered more for Jimmy Garoppolo and shipped him to San Francisco for only a second because they shipped him out of the AFC. You don't know, and nobody does, what Atlanta is willing to accept to maybe ship him to the AFC. So sitting here and trying to tell me what he will or won't go for is futile and ridiculous. But when you say to me that the Seahawks would be burdened with that contract and it would be exactly half in year 2 and year 3, as Allen Robinson and every other top wide receiver. You got to explain to me what exactly the fuck you mean. Because half price.
Jeff, when did I say the word receiver? I said defense. I said offensive line.
Again, Speedy.
It doesn't matter. They go by position. And when you get a half price receiver that benefits the rest of your team, and you can have more money to spend other places, because guess what? You're not spending $22 million at wide receiver. Oh, what's Amari Cooper making?
Okay, I'm not justifying the Cowboys contracts or anything like that. That's fine. Am I saying the Cowboys contracts are in good situation? No.
No, I'm tired of your deflection. Half price is half price, and you sound stupid again.
Okay, is there better value for what Seattle needs? Not overall players, what they need.
Oh, but okay, there's
$11 million.
There's no defensive players available that you could trade for right now, Speedy.
Okay, That's it.
That's what I said before. There's nobody.
Speedy is the GM for the Celtics now. For Speedy is the GM for the Seahawks, because all of a sudden, magically, he knows what they need more than the Seahawks do, doesn't he?
What are the Seahawks' biggest strengths? Quarterback, receiver, and linebacker. They're bad at literally everything else.
How do you
know? There's nothing else available. That's the problem.
How do you know?
You don't know what else could be available. Teams cut players all the time. Teams trade players at the trade deadline. If Seattle does overperform with what they have, they can make trades and use those $11 million.
And you just said it yourself. You could get Julio Jones, have him play well, and if you want to trade him, you could trade him for a defensive player.
You absolutely could trade him if you wanted to, because his contract is so terrible that we could trade him, right? And by the way, Speedy, how do you know what the Seahawks need? Because guess what? They feel they need a receiver. How do we know they feel they need a receiver? They went and signed Josh Gordon and stuck with him. So if they want to replace Josh Gordon with a half-price, top-end wide receiver like Julio Jones, let them.
That's fine, but
nothing about what they want.
All right, so you're gonna go into the season with a roster construction of only having a good quarterback, only having a good receiver, and linebacking core. That is it. And you're expecting to win. And you're expecting to win in the toughest division in football.
They won last year.
Your name should be the Speaver, because you're now a combination of Speedy and the Bee. Horrible takes with never admitting you're wrong.
How many wins did they have last year, Speedy?
11.
11 wins with just a quarterback, good wide receivers, and good linebackers. Okay. Now you add Julio Jones to that offense. Okay, a top-end wide receivers on a good deal. And by the way, yes, Tennessee is offering them more. I'm sure the Patriots are offering something. But all in all, they might say, you know what, we're going to send them to Seattle, and we're going to take a third, a fifth, and a running back. Who knows what they're going to offer them? Who knows?
But Speedy loses perspective outside of the NFC East, because he threw a bitch fit, right? Because, Dallas traded with Philly, but not the Giants, so they robbed him as receiver, right? But
I said Philly was smart for that. What's your point?
Hold on, Speedy. But Atlanta doesn't have the right to take less if they want to ship him to the AFC, because you know better than they do. If they don't want to play Julio Jones twice a year or ever at all because they want to ship him to the AFC, that's their prerogative, and you're still stupid.
I didn't judge from Atlanta's standpoint, though. I judged from Seattle's. It doesn't make sense from them. Now, Jeff, you're right. If you're judging, all right, there's similar offers. All right, there's a second and fourth round pick from the Raiders or a second and fourth round pick from the Seahawks. Yeah, they're going to trade him to the Raiders. Okay, the offers are going to be much similar, and they're going to give him away from the competition.
But even if it's like a first and a fifth versus a second and a fourth, you're taking a second and a fourth.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's fine. But what does that have to do with the NFC versus the AFC?
And how are you even debating this? How many of these offers have you seen, Speedy? You're judging these people off of something you know nothing about, unless Josh's sources have come through again and magically whispered in your ear this time about what they know and what they're going to do. Then you still know shit.
Okay? Over the weekend, it came out that the lead team that could win Julio Jones stakes is the Seattle. Vegas has said it. Vegas has said it.
Did they get their idea from Adam Schefter?
No. Vegas said it, and there was a lot of over the weekend. There were a bunch of reporters saying that Seattle is working on a deal which could send Julio Jones to Seattle.
Why aren't we just waiting to see what deal they kind of expect?
Absolutely. We'll know by Friday. Because they said that he'll be traded this week.
And this is what makes my mind explode. Oh, how are they going to take on a contract like Julio's? And then Speedy doesn't even know what his contract is. Speedy, it's called research. You're supposed to be smarter than that. try doing it.
Okay. And also, with those contract numbers, there are better values that they can get either at the trade deadline, pending free agents, quantities of players.
Let me ask you a question, Speedy. Over the last couple of years, besides the last year, but before last year, how many trades do you see at the NFL trade deadline?
5 or 6.
Really? Big ones.
5 or 6.
Big ones. And not last year. Last year was a lot, and I was very surprised how many.
You didn't
The
say
year
big.
before that.
You just said overall. Okay. In terms of big, probably maybe 2.
Never. Maybe 1.
I was going to say maybe 1 if you're lucky for a big one.
That still doesn't excuse the fact that Speedy said, how is Seattle going to take on a contract like his when his contract goes down and you didn't know that? So guess what, Speedy? Once again, you're talking out of turn.
Jeff, I didn't say in terms of the overall cap value. I said take on a contract and still build a good football team, which, FYI, they don't have right now.
And they're not going to have one anyways. They're a win-now team.
$11 million isn't going to change that, by the way, Speedy. $11 million is almost nothing when guys are getting 20 a year, right? Like at every position now, everyone's getting 20 a year, right? And so let me ask Josh, who previously had been the slowest person on this panel. Josh, if I said to you, I'm going to get you a top-end wide receiver, and guess what, Josh? You're going to pay $11 million for him. Josh, what do you say to that?
I would say that sounds like a wonderful idea. I'll take that in 2 seconds.
Oh, I'm sorry, Josh. You would be wrong because you couldn't possibly take on a contract that expensive.
Jeff, I am not downgrading the player of Julio Jones. The Seahawks have way too many big other needs.
Why don't you go back and listen to what you said? And you said verbatim, I don't know how Seattle could possibly take on a contract
And
like
build
that.
and build.
You didn't know
I thought it was implied. I meant and build the rest of the team up because in their division they have the worst roster by far.
This is funny.
Because if Tampa Bay could re-sign everybody and they had no cap space and they just handed out money like it was monopoly dollars, I'm pretty sure any team in the league could absorb $11 million, no problem, and still go and get other pieces.
Okay, did Tampa Bay, knowing that they already had other receivers, draft another receiver and then make a big trade for another receiver? No, they kept improving their defense. They improved their offensive line, which was fantastic.
Nobody
and they
thought,
won the Super Bowl.
Hold on one second.
By, wait for it, Jeff, building other things.
Well, really, how did they improve their offensive line? Who did they go and get?
Well, who did they go and get? They got Ryan Jensen. They drafted Tristan Wirfs in the first round.
Sorry, already there.
Okay, all right. So would you at the time?
How did they improve?
Jeff?
No, I'm going to hold your feet to the fire. How did they improve? Who did they go and get? Nobody. Once again, you prove you don't know what you're talking about.
Jeff,
you're naming guys that are already there. You're stupid.
You don't build a team in 1 year. They
didn't. No, they did. Ryan Jensen's been there for 5 years.
No, he hasn't. He's been there for 3, and they realized that other guys that were first-round picks on that offensive line.
My wife's going to wake up, and she's going to say, who's screaming? I'm going to say, it's not me.
They just got him. That's how they improved.
But you're saying from the Buccaneers logic, when they knew they already had great receivers, like they've had great receivers since Mike Evans has been there. They had him, they had Vincent Jackson, they had Deshaun Jackson. And let's say, all right,
you just went and said, oh, Tampa Bay went and improved their offensive line, and then you name a guy they signed 3 years ago.
You don't build a team in 1 year.
Who did they go and get?
You don't build a team in 1 year. I'm saying the equivalent of when the last time Tampa's roster was as bad as Seattle's right now, they didn't say, all right, let's go get this flashy receiver. No, they went and actually built a real roster, improved their defense, all their first round on defense and offensive line, and they built a Super Bowl championship caliber team, and they signed Tom Brady.
Isn't true. Which actually, by the way, isn't true because the only 2 players or 3 players that weren't on that team last year were Rob Gronkowski, Tom Brady, and Antonio Brown.
But you don't build a team in 1 year.
How many offensive linemen did I name?
Jeff, you don't build a team in 1 year. I'm saying the last time the Buccaneers roster was as bad as Seattle's is right now.
You just went and said, oh, but they went and improved their offensive line. And I said, who did they sign? And then you said, oh,
progressively, not 1 year, Jeff.
3 years ago, they got Ryan Jensen.
3 years ago, they got Ryan Jensen.
You have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, Jeff. Again, I'm going back to when Tampa was considered a dysfunctional franchise like Seattle is right now.
Hold on.
This is good. What are we doing?
Franchise last year. And what did they do? Oh, we just went and got Tom Brady and won a Super Bowl. So it was the same exact team that when they were considered a dysfunctional franchise and then won a Super Bowl.
Because they realized, all right, maybe we should draft more defense. Maybe we should draft more offensive line. Maybe we shouldn't. The quarterback was not the only problem with that team, Josh.
No, but Speedy, come on. If they don't have Brady there, do they win a Super Bowl?
No, Josh, I got this. You just said, oh, so last year they realized maybe we should draft more defense. What did they draft on the defensive side of the ball last year? That's right, Tristan Wirfs.
Who was their second round pick, Jeff? Their second round pick was Antoine Winfield, who was one of the best rookies last year and was a huge piece of that secondary. So that was a big piece. All the corners they drafted, which were big contributors to them this season, the last 2 years, they drafted Carlton Davis, they drafted Sean Bunting. All these guys were Jamel Dean. All these guys were crucial pieces to that secondary. They realized, all right, we have a passing attack. We need other things now.
Jamel Dean was a crucial piece to that team?
He was a slot corner.
And how often did he play?
I couldn't tell you.
So now you're just throwing guys out there that didn't play and calling them crucial pieces. Speedy. So help me God. If I see you, I'm gonna fucking drown you in a bucket of water.
Okay. But my point is, they actually realized, all right, we have a strength with our wide receivers.
We're doing threats on the air.
We have our strength with the wide receivers. We have our strength with the tight ends. Now we realize, okay, we need defense. We need offensive line. And for the last 5 years, that's what they focused on. They didn't say, okay, we have Mike Evans, Deshaun Jackson, and Chris Godwin, and say, all right, let's go trade for, I don't know, Amari Cooper when he was available.
Isn't Jeff's supposed to be on vacation?
That's the equivalent of right now.
Right, you're totally right. Their strength was tight ends. That's the one piece they went and got. And by the way, their strength also got hurt, and it was the replacement piece that took over. You're an idiot, dude. You're just saying things to say things that aren't actually
I'm not
true.
judging this year, though.
You're talking to someone who watched every game of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I loved it. It was great. But now all you're doing is just, Jamel Dean was a crucial piece. He played like 20% of the snaps. That's how crucial he was.
Okay, Jeff, let me ask you a question. When the Buccaneers in 2017 had Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Deshaun Jackson still, did they go out and say, all right, let's go trade for another receiver. Let's overload on that position when we have so many other needs?
Speedy, the problem was clearly quarterback. It's basically been the same roster for years, and the problem was clearly Jameis Winston. And when you tell me they went out and improved the offensive line this year and name a guy that they signed 3 years ago, you don't
build a team in 1 year, Jeff.
Speedy, you just said to me, well, they went out this offseason and got an offensive lineman. And I said, who? And then you named a guy they got 3 years ago.
Yeah, and you don't build a team in 1 year. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, when they had as bad of an offensive line as Seattle does right now, that's how far back it was.
Is nobody else hearing what I'm hearing?
I gotta be honest, I've never heard Arrow this quiet on the air before.
Is no one else hearing the stupidity that I'm hearing? Is it only me that Speedy goes, well, they went out this offseason and got an offensive
Did I say the words this offseason? You're putting words in my mouth now, Jeff. I never said the words the 2020 offseason.
Then I say who? And then you name a guy that got 3 years ago.
Jeff.
How was that this offseason?
I never said the words this offseason. You don't instantly build a team in years.
Somebody get
49ers named one team that was in the top 5 of the draft that went to a Super Bowl.
Probably it's got to be. It has to have happened.
The 49ers are the only ones in recent examples of that.
I know. I feel like this is like anything else just because I can't think of it. I know you must be wrong.
My point is, it doesn't happen overnight. It takes a 2-3 year process.
Listen to this, felt like going through a colonoscopy. I gotta tell you.
My uncle's going to one tomorrow.
It still doesn't excuse that you said the Seahawks take my contract like that. And Julio Jones.
Uncle Billy must be doing there early.
Yeah, but Jeff, compare this Seahawks team to the 2017 or so Buccaneers that had lackluster defense.
How about instead of comparing one team to another team, how about we compare one team to that team 2 years ago? So if you want to go, let's compare this Seahawks team to the Seahawks team 2 years ago, right? Or 3 years ago. And I would say to you, well, they thought they would need another wide receiver. That's why they went and got Josh Gordon, because they think they need another wide receiver. Who are you, by the way, who's an idiot radio guy from Long Island who thinks he knows more than anyone, to question the Seahawks about their own goddamn team?
All right, then why haven't they drafted well? Why haven't they brought in defensive free agents once Legion of Boom went out? Yeah, they're really good at making decisions.
Speedy, all we're saying, hold on one, Jeff. I want to step in for a second. All he's saying is, if you can get Julio Jones on that team for $15 million a year and you don't have to give away.
No, Errol, don't do that either. It's $15 million for 1 year.
Right.
And then the
11 years.
11 million a season.
Yes.
So it goes down, and Speedy was trying to tell me what number did he say? It's $20 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
Speedy, half the fucking price, dummy. Half of what you thought. So if you don't think that they can absorb half of what you thought, you're a retard.
Okay. I mentioned I'm judging for what else they need to get to win. They can have a great passing attack and win regular season games. They're not going to go anywhere, and Russell Wilson could still want out.
But who are you to tell them what they should do? They feel they need a receiver. Isn't that why they went and tried to make it work with Josh Gordon? I mean, Josh Gordon's got talent, so clearly that's what they want. And they're trying to find a way to make it work. And by the way, teams don't have to draft to try to improve. There's free agency. There's picking up, guys that are going to get cut and things like that.
Oh, and what does that involve?
But
Money, which could be better spent on maybe 3 defensive players than Julio Jones.
They think they need a wide receiver. They've been trying to do that for a while.
All right.
How are you going to?
So what? Jeff, you know what the Seahawks would be if they had that kind of format? They would be Andrew Luck's Indianapolis Colts in his rookie year.
All right. Let me read off what everybody is saying. Carl says, you said it was terrible contract, Speedy. Come on, bro. Then Carl says, Speedy.
Carl knows.
Hold on. So Speedy, Carl says also, Speedy, you said they would be cash strapped with Jones' contract. Then Snug said, Snug says Amari Cooper's agent should be ashamed. Snug also says, oh my goodness, the birth of the Speaver. Shocking. And then Snug says Josh's sources still carry lunch boxes and play kickball at recess.
Damn right they do, and they love every second of it, motherfucker.
Snug says he's still not exactly a sprinter. Carl says better record next year since Speedy just said Seahawks will be bad next year.
Seahawks will be better than the Giants.
Hold on, Seahawks or Giants. Then Ben says second and a 5th round pick Jones to the Packers. He's not going to the Packers. There is stuff coming out there. There's no way he's going to the Packers, Ben. So that's not going to happen. Snug says Tom Brady the GOAT. Respect. Snug also says.
He knows.
Snug says, Earl, better watch out if I ever see him out on the streets. If I get a hold of him, I'm going to blow his mind with the best unicorn cupcakes ever. Oh, my God. Carl says,
Carl just happens, Errol. This is exactly what happens because Carl just called him out, too, and said, oh, this is exactly what you said. So Speedy says something. I hear it. It blows my brains out. I'm like, what an idiot. And then I call in and go, Speedy, you're stupid. This is what you said. And then Speedy moves the goalpost. This is what he does. He moves the goalpost. He goes, well, that's not what I meant. I meant if they want to build with other things. That's not what you said.
Okay. I was hoping that was implied, but I guess not.
Okay. So hold on. Just admit you were wrong, Speedy. And Carl says, Speedy, you said the offseason. Then Carl says, Speedy, just say you were wrong about the contract and that you stated the Bucks got an offensive line in free agency last year. Read my comments, Errol, to end this.
Right. This is what he does. He moves the goalpost because he goes, well, they didn't get an offensive lineman this offseason. And then he names the guy they got 3 years ago. And he goes, but I thought it was
even the Beef.
Okay, I might have said this offseason.
Beef says, Speedy, you're an idiot. And then the Beef says, you said this offseason.
All right. I misworded it, but I didn't mean this offseason.
This is what I'm talking about. Think about what kind of world we're living in. And by the way, he hates my guts, which is fine. But when the Beef is agreeing with me, think about what kind of bizarro world we're living in.
Okay, I slipped up a word. I didn't mean this offseason, clearly.
No, this is what it is.
Somebody get Garrard back on the show. We need Garrard back in the mood.
We're going, and it's not what I know. You say one thing and you sound stupid. You sound so moronic.
By the way, really quick.
The word.
Really quick, Snug. I want to try those cupcakes.
Remove the goalpost. Oh, they went out and got an offensive lineman this season. I go, who? You went, Ryan Jensen. I go, what are you talking about? And you're like, well, I got him 3 years ago. But you said this offseason, so you
all right.
don't have any
Speedy's stepping down.
Okay, I slipped a word. I will admit it. That's not what I was implying. They progressively built an offensive line when they already had a good receiving core.
But this is the kind of shit that we get from him. This is the kind of shit. I just slipped the word, which changes the entirety of what you're talking about, doesn't it?
Okay, maybe it does, but still. I want to go back to your comment.
If I told you I did something and I really didn't, and I go, oh, well, I just slipped the word.
Okay, Carl, I'm going to go back to your comment. If the Seahawks defense is magically, let's just say above average, they have a solid running game, and Julio Jones leads the best passing attack in the league. I will admit I'm wrong. But
greatest episode ever, by the way.
You have a lot of faith when your best players are 33-year-old Bobby Wagner, Jamal Adams, who hasn't played as well as he did with the Jets, and maybe KJ Wright. That's all you got on that defense, and Jaron Reed. That's really all you got on that defense.
But do you see how one word can completely change? Like just what I said. If I tell you I did something and I didn't, don't they mean the exact opposite?
Yes, I know. I'm annoyed. Jeff, I'm annoyed at myself because I'm not like that normally.
If a tree falls in the woods, does it make a sound?
Definitely not.
Speedy answered it.
All I did was the word, though, and this is what we're talking about. You're wrong 90% of the time because you're too stupid to speak correctly, right? And it makes you
I'm normally not like that. I'm normally good enough to at least have fluent sentences.
Oh, that's right. And humble. Can we also put out there humble? That's normally very good. And humble.
I'm not normally the one to do that, Jeff. Maybe I did say this off season. I didn't imply it. I was implying
you did attack me, Speedy. I didn't do anything wrong to you.
That's right. That's right. He stuck up for you before. He had stuck up for me on this goddamn show one time since I've been here.
Yeah. How many words have you mispronounced that I've just let it slip under the rock?
Who, Arrow?
Arrow, yeah.
Holy Moses, I can name a whole book.
All the time. Oh, I was wrong or whatever. He goes, no, just flip the word that time. Let's move the goalpost.
Okay. Why? People say exactly what they mean all the time?
But you've done
I'm just going to have a stroke on the air. Somebody tweet down 911.
The difference, though, is, Speedy, you've done it about everything that you've said. Julio Jones' contract, $20 million? Nope, 11. They signed an offensive lineman this offseason. Nope, 3 years ago. You do it all the time with everything, but you're just slipping a word.
So, Jeff, how's Rhode Island?
You're wrong about everything. You're wrong.
Okay, all right, so I said the wrong word. That's fine.
And Jason Tatum's the most overrated player in the NBA.
I said James Harden. If you want to say, all right, you want to pay attention to that, my number one was James Harden, not Jason Tatum.
So, doesn't matter. You're wrong all the time, but I guess you're just slipping words all the time.
Okay, again, if I see another player next season that people are hyping up to be a top 10 player that I think Jason Tatum's better than, I'll replace him with it. But right now that he's my guy. He was the guy on that list.
It's incredible that you're in an industry that depends on speaking, and you're quite the wordsmith with all the slip misspeaks and stuff.
Hold on, Speedy, you wouldn't.
One day, Jeff. One day.
Speedy, you wouldn't change that narrative about Tatum.
Yeah. Okay, but one day.
I guess my question slipped under the rug.
I think Speedy's lost.
Speedy, here.
Speedy, you know what the problem is? He's a pretzel because he can't bring himself to go, you know what? I was wrong. He can't do it. I just slipped the word.
Okay. Do you want me to word it as quote unquote I was wrong that I said Ryan Jensen was signed 3 years ago? Is that gonna make you happy? Okay, I was
heard him so
saying that in saying this offseason, Tampa had drastic improvements to the offensive line. Are you happy now? Are you happy now? Okay, all right. I was wrong that he wasn't making $20 million this year. Okay, that still doesn't make it good for the Seahawks to trade a second round and a 5th round pick for him.
Holy Moses, balls dropped.
The Seahawks.
I've done my. Everyone, give me a hand. I took tonight. Come on, everyone in the comments. Let's see.
By the way, Jeff, how's Rhode Island?
All right. I'm not going to call back now. Oh, God, that was fun.
He's laughing too. Look at him.
Oh, man.
All right, I'll go back to reading comments now. Carl says, I misspoke. That is close to admitting he is wrong. Snug says, I did not inhale. Well, as I can recall, early in the show, a gentleman mentioned beating off the Packers live on air. Carl says, pregame meeting consisted of Errol saying, I am taking the show off, guys. Speedy, give out your takes, but don't admit you're wrong. Snug says, was that before or after the pre-show tidy whitey checks?
Here we go.
Brittany says, LMAO. Carl says, yes, say it, Speedy. He did it. The Beef says, if Jones goes to Seattle, it makes them a dangerous team. Carl says, Errol, another groundbreaking production move in radio. Errol, you are a mountain mover. And Mike says, you need a new producer.
Well, this show is almost over. We got about 5 more minutes to go, and it was.
Errol might be laughing for another 5 more minutes.
I tell you this, I will tell you this, Speedy. You really grew up tonight with the screaming and yelling. I swear, I'm waiting for Melissa to come downstairs and say who's yelling, and I'm going to say Speedy. She goes, Speedy yells.
Speedy was all.
Speedy yells.
He couldn't even talk. He was all over the place.
He was trying. Are you happy? Are you happy, Jeff?
Well, you don't admit when you're wrong. You really don't.
At the same time, though, I also don't vehemently brag when I'm right either, though.
No, but you.
So I'm in between. I'm neutral.
Oh, you're not.
Anything up?
Well, I thought it was hilarious, and Jeff did get you like rewinded, rewinded, or whatever the f the word is. But you were all over the place. You went from fast forward to rewind from this whole show.
You went from level 4 to level 50.
Yeah, you
did.
You went all over the place. But
you snapped tonight, Speedy.
Let me ask you a question. This is the truth. All right, Julio Jones goes to Seattle.
Going back.
Okay, there's 17 games this year. They win 13 games instead of 11. They get into the playoffs and they get knocked out in the NFC title game. Was it a successful season?
Yeah, if Russell Wilson stays.
Is that a successful season?
If Russell Wilson stays.
Russell Wilson's going to be there.
Why wouldn't he stay if Jones goes there, Speedy?
Yes. Why wouldn't he stay? So
because his complaint was about the offensive line. They still didn't improve the offensive line.
So if they give him another playmaker to hide it, so it'll make him happy. He's not going to say, "Oh, we just got Julio Jones. I'm not going to be happy."
So DK Metcalf's going to go block now that they have Julio Jones.
That has nothing to do with anything. That has nothing to do with their defense. If they get Julio Jones, they win 13 games this year out of 17. Okay, and they get to the NFC title game with Julio Jones, DK Metcalf, and obviously Lockett. And they're an explosive team. The defense can hold up. Because we've seen Green Bay over the last couple of years go with terrible defense to the NFC title game. A matter of fact, when they won a 6th seed on the wild card, they weren't a good defense. They weren't. They were better
on paper than the Seahawks defense.
They weren't good. Okay? They weren't good.
Fair.
And they went to a Super Bowl and won a Super Bowl. Okay? With guess who? Aaron Rodgers and an explosive offense. Now, over the years, we have seen Aaron Rodgers and that Green Bay Packer team went all the way to an NFC title game with not even with the talent that the Seattle Seahawks have offensively. You're telling me right now, if they win 13 or 12 games this year and you go to the NFC title game, that's not a success season?
Again, like I was saying,
is it or is it not?
Yes, it would be. Now, that's what Carl was saying in the comments earlier. If that happens, that kind of scenario happens, and they do overperform in those other areas that I think are currently weak. Maybe their defense is 17th.
We've seen terrible defense. We've seen terrible defenses go all the way to NFC, AFC title games, even Super Bowls. We've seen it. Okay. Now, obviously, they don't win, but they still go there. That's a successful season. Adding Julio Jones to Seattle with those weapons, that makes them an extremely better team. A much better team. Are you kidding me? That makes them even more dangerous.
I still think, though, overloading is not the way you win.
They're looking to win now. There is no defensive players right now that are going to be free agents. Exactly. They didn't have the money, okay, because they had to pay Russell Wilson. and they have nothing. They have nothing unless they get cut. And even if players get cut, they're not signing them for more than 1 year deals. They're not getting a lot of money to sign a contract for 1 year. What are they getting? $5 million, $6 million? They still could get those players.
Right, but that's my point, though. You could build a better, I guess, either team offensive line or team.
Where are you going to get a talent? And this is what
depends on who's caught. We have to see who's caught.
You're going to get a talented player like Julio Jones for $15 million?
No. I'm not saying as good as Julio Jones, but you can get the quantity of maybe 3 players that have different team values that can add up to maybe make your offensive line better, make your secondary better, something like that.
So those 3 players are going to make them better than Julio Jones.
Make other aspects better. Julio Jones can't block. Julio Jones doesn't play defense.
Doesn't matter. He changes the complete aspect for teams to defend against you. That teams cannot defend. They cannot double team Julio Jones and DK Metcalf. And if they do, guess who's going to be open? Tyler Lockett. Okay? So there's no way they're going to be able to stop that offense.
Okay.
That means every time they touch the ball, they're either going to get 3 points or they're going to get 7 points.
All right. If that's the case, the Falcons last year had Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley. Your
DK Metcalf was a top 7 wide receiver last year. Top 7. Julio Jones, who had an offseason because he wasn't 100% healthy and the team wasn't throwing him the ball when he did play. And he still had 3 touchdowns and 786 yards. And then you have Tyler Lockett, who just got a lot of money, who had over 1,200 yards last year. And now you put Julio Jones, who still people put in the top 5 in offensive wide receivers in the league. And you add him with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. They're not a better team?
Of course, they're a better team.
A way better team.
But you're overloading what is already strong, which isn't a good roster construction strategy for a team. You're basically, like I said, you're basically the 2013 Indianapolis Colts, which had a god-awful offensive line. We say that all the time when Andrew Luck retired.
Didn't it go to the AFC title game?
No, that was 2014. Their defense got a little better that year, and their offensive line was healthy somewhat. The 2013, they won that one playoff game against the Chiefs, but that was it. Who, like Jeff was saying earlier, notoriously choked in the playoffs recently. So they have that kind of roster. If you want to judge recently, all right, the Seahawks become what? The Cowboys? All right, you have a passing attack and a terrible defense?
No, first of all, they're way better
That's
than
fine.
the Cowboys.
I'm not denying that, but
you have DK Metcalf was a top 5, top 7 wide receiver. Tyler Lockett was a top 10 wide receiver last year. And then you add Julio Jones, some people argue is still a top 3 wide receiver in the league. You have 3 top 10 wide receivers on one team with Russell Wilson, who will pick you apart in the open field. You're going to tell me they're not going to be a better team? They're going to be a much better team. And who cares about their weakness in their defense? If you're going to outscore your teams and you're going to get 30 to 35 points a game, you're going to win the majority of the games. Because no team, even as bad as your defense, we've seen Green Bay. When those Green Bay Packer teams were terrible and Aaron Rodgers still won 11 games and he got into the playoffs to an NFC title game, okay, that defense was terrible. They still outscored teams by 10 points, okay? That's why they won 11 games that year. You can win like that, overloading offensively.
Yeah, but again, how often does that happen besides Green Bay? Green Bay fabricated it well, fine. But Green Bay's maybe been the exception to the rule. How often do teams actually win like that? Aaron Rodgers, we say it all the time, is a special breed.
And Russell Wilson isn't?
Russell Wilson can be that too. But again,
who was the runner-up for MVP last year?
The runner-up for
who was the top for the last 3 years in the top 4 quarterbacks in the league? Who was runner-up every single year?
Russell Wilson was the year Lamar Jackson won,
and he was runner-up. He was like 4th or 5th this year. Okay. He was 4th or 5th this year. Every year he's in the top 3 or top 4.
So why does he need more receiving help then?
What do you mean? What?
Because Russell Wilson's already doing this on his own. Why does he need more receiving
He doesn't want to be there anymore because they're not building him around. They're not giving him enough. Not offensive linemen and not weapons. He thinks if Russell Wilson, if you could give Russell Wilson, Julio Jones, you don't think Russell Wilson will be happy?
That's fine. But why not give, if you're worried about weapons, why not give him a tight end then? Why not give him a running back? Why not give him
Julio Jones is a tight end. He's 6'3", 6'4", runs and jumps like a deer. Unbelievable in the red zone, which they had problems in the red zone, especially when they play. I think who did they play in the first round last year?
The
The Rams, they were terrible in the red zone last year, okay, in the playoffs. They need a guy that can dominate in the red zone, that you don't need to throw those deep passes that's outrun you like DK Metcalf, or in the slot that you're going to use, fade routes with a Tyler Lockett to score. You can do everything with Julio Jones, especially in the red zone, who's been one of the most dominant forces in the red zone in the league we've ever seen.
That's fine. I'm not downgrading Julio Jones, the player.
All right, here's the comment. John Carl wants me to read his comment. Better team last year, Seahawks or Bears? We all know the Seahawks, but who had the better D? The Bears. So then the difference was the quarterback play. Wilson was great. So give him Julio Jones, and they are even better. There you go, Carl. I read it.
Snug says DK Metcalf and I shoot hot wings on Tuesday and eat hot wings on Tuesdays. Jeff says Seahawks will be awful no matter who plays wide receiver because no team can succeed with a quarterback who skips OTAs. And then Carl saying read the comment. Yes, Carl. And the quarterback play for the Bears and the defensive play for the Seahawks was very equivalent last year. So are the Bears going out and saying, all right, let's trade up and we're going to go get the top defensive player? No, they traded up and got Justin Fields. They're actually filling roster holes. Second round, they trade up and get an offensive lineman because they have a bad offensive line. They didn't say, all right, our defense was great, but
they're rebuilding.
Okay.
The Bears are rebuilding.
And yes, and rebuilding comes with filling holes, which the Bears did.
Seattle is ready to win now. They cannot rebuild. They have a bunch of veterans on a team. They might have 2 rookies that are going to be. Wagner is a veteran. He's a 31, 32-year-old highly paid linebacker on their team. You have Jamal Adams. Jamal, here comes Jeff again.
Round 3.
What's going on, Jeff?
I'm sick of this kid. I'm absolutely sick of this kid. It's going to make me lose my mind. Speedy, who was in the Super Bowl last year?
The Buccaneers and Chiefs.
Weapons everywhere. Antonio Brown, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Gronkowski, Cameron Brate. That's one team. Kelsey, Tyreek Jones, Sammy Watkins, Demaryius Robinson, Mecole Hardman. Weapons everywhere. More weapons is the way the league is going. Wrap your head around it, accept it, and move on, stupid.
Okay.
You don't seem to get the teams.
Did the Chiefs
have more weapons? If you can get more weapons, the better you'll be. Can someone explain it to him because he's a retard?
Did the Chiefs go out and say, all right, we won the Super Bowl, but let's still overload our receiver rather than they drafted a running back, which they needed. They drafted more defense, which they needed, and they went back to the Super Bowl.
Is running back another weapon?
Clyde Edwards-Helaire? Yeah, I would say he's better than the
another weapon.
Yeah, okay. But it's a weapon they needed.
More weapons is better.
Right.
Besides
Jeff, they could have used a running back, though.
Besides Lockett, who do the Seahawks have?
What? Say that again?
Besides Lockett and Metcalf, who do the Seahawks have?
Okay. What? Yeah. 2 receivers is fine. They drafted one in the second round for whatever reason. Can
you just ever answer a question?
Okay. I'm answering the question. Yeah. I'm answering the question. Who's the running backs? Who's the tight ends? Those are quote unquote weapons if you want to use that example for the Chiefs too.
They don't have any running backs. Rashard Penny.
I know.
Chris Carson.
All right. Was the argument for them trading for a running back? No. If they were arguing about trading for a running back, that's different.
Okay, hold on. Hold on, Jeff.
What?
Seattle, what were they ranked defensively last year?
28th.
No, they weren't.
All right, overall 22nd. I don't know.
No, they weren't. That last year in 2020, 2021, Seattle was ranked 13th overall in defenses.
Okay, where was their pass
defensive allowed? Okay, Green Bay was 15th. Okay, so Seattle was ranked 13th. Now, their defense, obviously the secondary is not very strong, but their defense wasn't that bad. If you add Julio Jones to that offense, which was one of the top 3 offenses in the league, Julio Jones, does that make them number 1?
In what?
Offensively, does that make them number 1?
Passing wise, yeah, probably.
And by the way, the beef says Jeff is right. Oh my God, this is
you didn't reference him.
No, but this is how bad this is getting. When the beef is agreeing with me, just take the L, Speedy. Teams with more weapons are the ones that win. It's an offensive-driven league now. So if you can get more offense, that's probably going to make you a better team.
All right, go get a running back. Go get a tight end. Fine. They don't. Their receivers are fine. They can live with the third receivers.
They didn't win last year.
Not because of the passing game.
In the big part of the game, they didn't make the plays. DK Metcalf didn't make the plays. Either did Tyler Lockett. What are you making faces?
The
what
big
did they
part
score?
of the game, they were blown out.
Exactly.
The whole team played bad.
With Julio Jones, it opens up the field for them. It makes them better.
Julio Jones making 17 points if they lost by?
Absolutely does, because it's going to make one player open.
The problem with what you're doing, Speedy, is saying no wide receiver, get a tight end, because I agree with you, and this is where I'll say that you're right, Speedy. Jacob Hollister and the rest of those crumb bums they have at tight end stink. But guess what? Other teams don't have tight ends and succeed. I'll give you the Cardinals. They have a winning record. They just go a bunch of wide receivers and no tight ends. So whether you're arguing for tight end and against wide receiver, you're still arguing for more weapons. So why are you trying to deny them more weapons?
And the Cardinals have built up those other areas so they can afford to do that more. The Cardinals went out right now and traded for Julio Jones. They have a lot more leeway.
This is how stupid you sound. You're arguing they need more on offense and then trying to say they don't need more on offense.
They don't need more receivers. That's one concept of the game.
What do you think a tight end does?
Blocks, which they could help their offensive line. If you got,
then put another fat fucking lineman out there.
Okay, that's fine too. I was advocating for an offensive lineman.
By the way, what did the Rams lose against? What did the Rams beat Seattle by in the first round?
30-13.
30-20.
All right, they got a garbage time touchdown.
30-20. So you're telling me
all the way around, you can't even get a score right.
No.
So it was 30-13. I forgot. Seattle.
So you're going to tell me that if Julio Jones played for the Seattle Seahawks, they couldn't have won
17 points? You're saying that makes up
10 points.
10
points.
It's a garbage time touchdown.
But
10 points.
Smart, dude, Speedy, I'm trying with you. I believe in you. I know you're smarter than this. If the Seahawks can hold the ball longer and give their defense more reps, that will probably make their defense stronger, which might help them play a little more defense and allow less points. So the longer Seattle possesses the ball and the longer drives go, the more points they'll score, and probably the less points the other team will score. So saying one person, what do you think is just going to make up for 17 points? He could, because it's an aggregate of the whole game. And I'm trying to give you credit for being smarter, but you continue to say stupid things.
But I'm not saying Julio Jones wouldn't have that value for another team. You're comparing Julio Jones reps of what he would get on the Seahawks to what he would get on the Falcons, where he was the number one guy all the time. And also you're comparing a situation where Seattle's roster is really bad in comparison to the rosters the Falcons had.
If every time Seattle has the ball and they move the ball down the field and they can possess it for 8 minutes of drive, which, I mean, is a pretty good length of time, right? Pretty good healthy drive, 8 minutes.
Sure, fine.
It's going to mean less time for the other team to score. So when you say, what do you think, Julio Jones is just going to make up 17 points? Possessing the ball like that and having long drives and then putting up a few more points, probably, yes, does take points off the board for the other team.
All right, let me ask you.
Does.
Let me ask you a question though. If you're trying to run a quote unquote methodical offense to move the ball down the field to keep your defense rested, which is fine because your defense is bad, wouldn't that downgrade the value of what Julio Jones brings? Because Julio Jones is a good big play guy, physical catch guy, deep threat.
Here's the problem with what you're doing. You're discounting a lot of what Julio Jones does. While he makes some great plays, for the most part, he's a possession receiver. He catches a lot of screen passes.
Yeah.
He catches a lot of short passes and keep drives going. So you're only trying to pigeonhole him as the guy.
No. I'm not downgrading who Julio Jones is. I'm just saying they might misuse him if that's the. They might misuse him if that's the method that they're going by, is what I'm saying. I'm not saying Julio Jones is incapable. He can do everything.
And you're also discounting this fact too. Julio Jones is already great. Okay?
Yes, I'm aware.
We all agree. Julio Jones is great.
Absolutely.
He's great with dog shit. Imagine anyone else on the planet was watching the football besides that shitbag, Matt Ryan.
First of all, he's not as bad as you're making him out to be. Okay, regardless, that's fine. I'm judging the argument. The main argument was team construction, not who his quarterback was.
But
of course, Russell Wilson's better. Everyone knows that.
More weapons are better than less weapons. and you keep arguing the Seahawks need more weapons.
I keep arguing the Seahawks need other things. Not that I'm not saying they couldn't use another running back or another tight end. That's fine. That could be a priority for them too. I'm saying Russell Wilson came out and said, I don't want to be with this organization because they have failed me building an offensive line.
Are you just slipping words again? Is this why I'm losing my mind? Are you just slipping words?
No, that was Russell Wilson's main reason for wanting out of Seattle is they've failed to build an offensive line.
But it's also pointless, right? Because any team that has a quarterback that skips OTAs is going to be worthless anyway.
Okay, and he's skipping OTAs because he's mad at the organization for not building an offensive line, which has nothing to do with a wide receiver.
That was more of a shot at Errol. I got to get one in tonight.
Well, I'll take it, man. I'll take it. I don't care. But I think
teams with more weapons do better. Go and look at the playoffs. The teams that didn't have many weapons, they got knocked out early. The teams with more weapons, what did they do? Now, come on, I'm going to help you along here. Teams with more weapons, they generally win.
Okay, Jeff, let me ask you.
No, Speedy, what's the word? I'm trying to help you around.
Jeff,
what's the word?
Jeff,
go further?
Weapons. But Jeff, you're a Patriots fan. You say all the time how Tom Brady has made a lot of these lackluster running backs and slot receiver type things, and they won Super Bowls. Which
is true.
Right. So they can if they can do it while still building defenses like that and offensive lines, other teams should be able to do it too. So you can win in both styles, but you still need some level of balance. There's not a team out there that has a 27th ranked defense that won a Super Bowl. It doesn't happen that way.
Which again, this is what you're doing, okay? And I'm just using the numbers you guys gave us because you're supposed to know what you're talking about. Again, you're going with your idiotic number of 27th ranked defense when Errol just told you they were
13th. Whatever, but fine. My point is go back.
It's not whatever. We're talking about twice as bad. 13 to 27
All right.
is twice as bad.
Jeff, I'm saying hypothetically. I know he said that. I'm saying hypothetically speaking, looking at past Super Bowl champions, how many of them had?
Remember, this is what I'm saying. You use your number and you just said 27.
All right. I'm not talking about last year. I'm talking about in general. Teams with 27th ranked defenses and 27th ranked offensive lines do Super Bowls.
I'm just slipping a word there. 27th, 13th, all the same. Just slipping a word.
Okay. No. I'm
the big bad wolves.
I'm not saying specifically the Seahawks. I'm saying
specifically who we were talking. Dude, somebody, please. Somebody talk something.
I'm saying in general. This quote unquote win now team. That means you have to win now. And you're not going to be able to do that with bad roster like the way they have it right now.
I think you guys did a ton of Snugs Rainbow Cupcakes before the show.
Guys, Josh, I'm begging you, man. Josh, please, I'm begging you. Errol, I'm begging you. Make this make sense tonight. Make this make sense. You just said we're not specifically talking about the Seahawks when that was exactly specifically what we were.
All right. Speedy, I want to tell you something. I'm gonna give you some information. Remember when Green Bay went to the NFC title game?
Many times. Which year?
No. I'm talking about the last time they went to the NFC title game.
So last year. Okay.
Last year. Okay. What was the defense ranked?
15th. You just told me.
No. Before last year. I'm sorry. Before last year. What were they ranked?
The year before? 23rd. I know they were good against the pass, terrible against the run.
They were ranked all around 32. When they went to the NFC title game, when they lost in the NFC title game, they were ranked 32nd all around defense that year. Okay? Now, how did they get there?
Aaron
Rodgers in their offense, their high-powered offense, right? Okay. Now, how many weapons did they have on that team?
2.
2 weapons. Were they as good as Julio Jones, DK Metcalf, and Tyler Lockett?
Yeah. So
now, yes or no?
No.
Yes or no?
No.
Yes or no? Yes or no?
No, that's not true because we're not specifically talking about the Seahawks.
Yes, but again, you're bringing that up. Now you're saying Russell Wilson, like you were saying, he was a runner-up for MVP. He was 4th or 5th for MVP. He can fabricate that kind of passing game. So why not build the other areas of the team?
But there's nothing. Do you get it through your skull? There is nobody. They've made their opportunities to get free agents. There's nobody available. Now, there are cut players. They can still bring cut players in on a small contract. You got a chance to get a game-breaking wide receiver that can make your team that much better. You're not going to make that trade? Are you nuts? That's what he's trying to tell you. Are you out of your mind? Yes, they would make that trade with flying colors. They wouldn't even blink. They wouldn't even blink.
They would literally say yes and they hang up the phone.
That's exactly what they do. We'll send you whatever you want. Just send them over here.
Exactly. They'll hang up the phone before the guy changes his mind.
That's crazy. It's Julio Jones.
But again, just to be clear, we're not specifically talking about the
right.
Seahawks.
We're not talking
now we are, but still.
Now we are. Holy shit,
well, he brought up the Seahawks. Errol specifically brought up the
Seahawks. We have been talking about the Seahawks the entire time.
No, he jumped to the Packers. Pay attention. He jumped to the Packers.
Russell Wilson magically plays for the Houston Texans right now. We were talking about the Seahawks.
Yes, and Errol jumped to the Packers too. So,
but we weren't.
This is a great show.
Doing this again tomorrow. I know for a fact we are. I know this is not over tonight. This is going to continue tomorrow. I know it.
Hopefully, we'll go off that.
But you guys see what's going on here? We were talking about the Seahawks, and then Speedy moves the goalpost and says, "Well, we weren't specifically talking." No,
I wasn't talking about the Seahawks in reference to previous Super Bowl champions, Jeff. Of course, the focal point was still on the Seahawks.
Dude, you guys need to help me make this make sense. You guys, please.
I tried to help him make it make sense.
We both have said it.
Anybody would take Julio Jones, even if their defense stunk. Okay, because that makes them that much better.
Exactly, it's a no-brainer. I mean, like you said, Jeff, it's all about how the game today is all offense.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like the Kansas City Chiefs have a world.
Did they need Antonio Brown?
They don't have a world.
Buccaneers need Antonio Brown, Speedy? Yes or no?
Did the Buccaneers trade a second-round pick for Antonio Brown?
They gave up two first-round draft picks and a third for Jamal Adams,
and that was a bad trade too.
That was a bad trade, but they're trying to win now, you idiots. They're trying to win now. That's why they did it.
But see, you're missing the whole point, though, Errol, because they brought Antonio Brown in because that was their offensive lineman. Speedy was talking about. Like,
hold on. Here's a good analogy. When Antonio Brown was initially being traded from the Steelers that offseason, and when he went to the Bills, when he went to the Raiders, all those teams, were the Buccaneers interested in Antonio Brown at that time?
But he never went to the Bills. But good for you.
Whatever. Regardless. When
that's right, he just flipped the word.
No. He went to the Bills, then it got vetoed again. I know. Regardless, in that peak, when Antonio Brown was still considered a top receiver and he wanted out from the Steelers were trading him, was Tampa Bay, who already had Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, they still had Deshaun Jackson. Were they going on the phone saying, all right, we'll give you a 2 and a 4. Let's just overload our receivers and not build anything else.
They're trying to win now. Do you not get it? Here's the scenario here. If Russell Wilson, decides after this year, you didn't do anything this offseason, I want to be traded. I'm not going to play. I will sit out. What are you going to do then? You got to start all over again. So then if you're going to draft the second and fourth, some of these guys, and we've seen Seattle's draft picks. We've seen them the last couple of years. Some of them haven't even come up to even pan out. So even if they kept that second and fourth round draft pick, that doesn't give you the opportunity to be a playoff team. That doesn't make you a playoff team in the future. If you get Julio Jones, that guarantees you a playoff spot. That guarantees you a chance to go all the way to the Super Bowl in the NFC. An NFC and their division, which, by the way, besides San Francisco, is not any good. Okay, and the Rams, maybe you could say the Rams too, but
hold on. Let me.
The Rams. I forgot about.
Can I just
Matthew
help
Stafford
Speedy here? Can I just help Speedy with the math here? Like, let's just put it in terms of you'll know. Speedy, who did the Giants draft in the second round this year?
Azeez Ojulari.
Azeez Ojulari, injured.
Okay.
All the time. Everyone's wondering if he can even play a season. Would you give up Azeez Ojulari to get Julio Jones?
Yes, because the Giants need wide receivers.
No, you wouldn't, because the second and a fourth is ridiculous, you just said.
For the Seahawks, who don't need a receiver. The Julio Jones, wherever he goes, is going to be a number 1 receiver. The Seahawks have a number 1 receiver.
Exactly the point. Hey, Errol, you guys just got Elijah Moore in the second round. Would you trade Elijah Moore right now for Julio Jones?
Absolutely.
Of course, it's a no-brainer.
I wouldn't blink.
I would hang up the phone and say, yes, done. He can't change his mind.
Right, but this is the point. and I'm not taking anything away from Elijah Moore, just so you know, I'm not doing
I
that,
know,
okay?
but it's Julio Jones.
Elijah, right, that's exactly the point. Elijah Moore might turn out to be great, but guess what? He's a coin flip. He's a lottery pick. He's a, lottery ticket. You don't know. And then you can guarantee yourself you're getting, and I don't want to overstate this at all. Are we calling Julio a top 5 receiver, top 7 receiver? What are we calling Julio?
I would say Julio's a top 10 wide receiver still in the NFL.
Right. Top 10, number one type receiver.
So a top 10 receiver in the league versus a lottery ticket, maybe one day, perhaps could. No, you take the bird in the hand, Speedy. You ever heard that saying? A bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush. You ever heard that?
No,
well, Julio Jones.
Well, he doesn't know about the bush.
well,
He thinks we're talking about a bush. He thinks it's about a tree.
Julio's worth more, Speedy. And the fact that you're arguing, I'm not giving up a second-round pick. Again, you're just looking dumber and dumber.
Not every team can afford to with the situation they're in.
Actually, every team kind of can, right? Because every team is given a second-round draft pick every year. So if that's the price, yeah, everyone can afford it.
I'm not talking super literal, Jeff. I'm saying in terms of their current situation. No, I'm saying in terms of their.
Do you think Julio Jones is worth a second and a fourth?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm saying not. And from a general standpoint, yeah. But again, you have to judge every team's situation.
Now, if Russell Wilson leaves next year and they still have their second and fourth round draft pick, are they a playoff team?
No.
Are they a rebuilding team?
Yes.
Okay. So they're trying to
rebuilding team with Julio Jones.
Okay. So hold on.
Russell Wilson
hold on 1 second. So you're telling me now you get a chance to get Julio Jones to the team that made the playoffs last year, the same exact team that made the playoffs last year, with the weaknesses in the dysfunction and the dysfunction, the problems they had defensively, which you claim, which they were ranked 13th all around in defense last year. You're going to tell me that they're not an NFL Super Bowl contender?
Okay, they might be, but you're still.
So why wouldn't you do it?
You're still dealing with a lot of different circumstances where the Seahawks have dug themselves so deep as it is, where, like we were saying, there's a lot of great teams in that division. There's still other powerhouses throughout the conference with the Buccaneers, and you're dealing with a case.
But you're trying to win now, Speedy. And if you're a winning and trying to win now type of team, do you make that trade?
Maybe if you're getting
no. Yes or no? Do you make that trade? Yes or no?
It depends on.
No. If you're a winning now team and you can get Julio Jones and that can make you a contender, do you make the trade?
Speedy, the answer is obviously yes, and you're trying to avoid it.
It's a yes, and you know it is.
But it's not general like that. Every team's different.
It's general now.
No. It's not general. You show me one general manager in the entire league that if you went to right now and said, next year you got to give up your second and fourth, and you're instantly a contender. How many GMs say no? Josh, how many GMs say no, Josh?
Jeff, no, I'm not saying that. You're talking general again.
How many GMs say no to that? Give up a second and a fourth, and you're an immediate contender for the Super Bowl next year. How many say no?
Zero.
Errol.
Zero.
How many GMs? Give up a second and a fourth. How many say no?
Zero.
You know what Speedy says? But it depends because
every team is different. General. If you already have a strength at a wide receiver, why are you overloading on that?
Did the division get stronger with San Francisco?
Because this is what you're missing. You can never be too strong at that position. That's number one. And B, you can't predict who's going to get hurt and who's going to be healthy and when you're going to need something. So guess what? Depth is king.
Oh, depth, which they don't have.
They will if they get Julio Jones. They have more depth.
They'll get depth at other positions if they get Julio Jones.
They were still ranked 13th all around in defense last year.
Yeah, but this is what Speedy's missing, right? Because he thinks the team needs to be 20 guys deep at every position across the board.
No, I think the team should be balanced. I'm not saying a super team. I'm just saying balanced.
Speedy, did you think the Giants had a good season defensively?
Better than I expected. Sure.
Sure. What were they ranked last year?
They were at points 10.
All around they were 8th. Okay. So the Seattle. Hold on. So the Seattle Seahawks, who you said had a lot of dysfunction defensively, they were ranked only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spots away from the Giants defense.
Okay.
So you're going to tell me right now, if you can get Julio Jones and you still have the 13th ranked defense in the league, you can't win a Super Bowl?
I have mentioned many times, I still think there's a lot of flaws with the Giants defense too.
Do you think they can win a Super Bowl?
Sometimes it can be misleading like that.
Do you think they can win a Super Bowl?
If they're a 1 seed, that's the only shot because they're not winning on the road.
Errol, maybe I can attack this from a different angle. Guys, can I have a shot?
Go ahead.
May I?
Go ahead.
Okay. Speedy, let's just say a team has, I don't know, the 4th ranked offense in the league. The entire league, all 32 teams have the 4th ranked offense. Okay. And that same team has the 30th ranked defense. One of the worst. Actually, only 2 up from the bottom. Okay?
Okay.
Would you think that team has any shot at winning the Super Bowl? Any shot?
Depends on the roster construction, but most likely no.
Oh, roster construction, but you're
they might have a 30th ranked defense that got banged up last year and still has talent. You just judge the situation.
No. If that year, if a team like that ended up in the Super Bowl, where all year they were the 4th ranked offense and all year they were the 30th ranked,
it'd be a miracle in that case. Then, yeah. Okay.
Right. Well, welcome, and they didn't win, but welcome to the New England Patriots when they played Philadelphia in the Super Bowl. Did that team have a shot to win? Certainly did, and that was the exact case. That was the exact numbers. So when you're arguing balance, right? Oh, but they need this and they need that. I'm just proving to you, offense is king in the league. Offense is king, and if you can get more weapons, you're going to be a better team and go deeper. But somehow you're trying to push the stupid notion because you don't want to go, well, you're right. You don't want to say it to anyone. You don't want to say it to Josh, and he's been right all night. And you don't want to say it to Errol, and he's been right all night. You certainly don't want to say it to me or any of the listeners, even though they know you're stupid too.
Now, let me ask you a question, Speedy. Where was Seattle ranked offensively last year?
Offensively?
Yes.
9th.
They were 9th. So you're telling me that their offense was only ranked 4 spots ahead of their defense in the position that they were in defensively. And you're telling me they can't win. So where do you think, with Julio Jones, where do you think their offense would be ranked this year? 4th. They were 4th. So 9th to 4th, you think they're a Super Bowl contender?
If they're a 1 seed.
They'd be a Super Bowl contender if they're a 2 or 3 seed.
It's Seattle. They don't win on the road.
When was the last time a non-number 1 seed won the Super Bowl?
This year, Tampa.
Exactly. So every time you go, they can only win if they're a 1 seed.
No. I'm not saying. I'm not saying
like a retard.
Jeff, come on, Jeff. I'm not saying no team can ever win as a wild card. Seattle has a history of going 8 and 4 and 2 and 6 on the road every year.
Can I interject for a second? See this. If, for example, if Seattle is playing the Buccaneers played the Packers in the NFC Championship game.
Okay.
If the Seahawks added Julio Jones, who wins that game? The Seahawks or the Packers?
If it's in Seattle. If it's in Green Bay, Green Bay.
But we're not specifically talking about
Seattle. No, I don't even know if that's even the case. Why can't Russell Wilson win in Green Bay? With that offense.
They rarely win except for maybe the first round. They rarely
How
win
is Green Bay going to How is Green Bay going to stop all 3 of those guys?
How is the Seahawks secondary going to stop Devontae
It doesn't matter. You're going to still score more points than Green Bay is if you have 3 amazing offensive players like that. Listen, Speedy, you have to double team DK Metcalf, or you got to double team Julio Jones, and you still have Tyler Lockett.
Or Lockett was the highest ranked receiver on that team.
And you can't double team. You can only double team one of those guys.
Especially with Green Bay's DBs, they wouldn't be able to handle it.
You're not going to be able to do it. So you're going to have one guy that has single, or 2 guys with single coverage in the open field every single time. They're going to be unstoppable. They're going to have the number 1 offense in the league next year with Julio Jones.
You guys ever get the sense that we're just wasting our time trying to talk to Speedy about common sense? You ever just feel like it's just never going to happen?
No, I think Speedy knows. I think Speedy's going to fight it because he just doesn't.
He's dedicated to his opinion. That's what it is.
I'm just saying, I never saw a scrap heap type team like that with the rest of their roster win a Super Bowl.
Really,
Speedy? I would just think that you should check your compass after the beef was laughing at you.
All right. Well, the beef can happen.
So you saying that nobody? So you're saying that no team that you've seen in your time that was a scrap, no defense,
as bad of a roster as Seattle has right now.
Really, they were just ranked 9th in offense and 13th in defense. They're a bad team.
No. I said roster, not.
They're
They're well coached. Yes, they're well coached.
All right,
fine.
but their roster was 9th ranked in offense last year, same roster, and 13th ranked in defense in all of the league. And you're telling me it's a bad roster?
Okay. That's
You're talking about a team. It doesn't mean that your players. You don't have to have superstar players at every position.
I'm not saying that.
All right.
I'm saying balance. I'm saying at least capable players.
They were balanced. They were 9th in offense, 13th in defense.
Are you telling me 9th and 13th isn't balanced? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
No. I'm saying the
team
construction of the team is not balanced.
I just told you they're balanced. I just told you where they were ranked. Let's go to their special teams. Let's see where that was ranked.
Okay.
It's 11th. They were 11th. They were 11th in special teams. So they were 9th in offense, 11th in special teams, and 13th in defense. And they're not a well-oiled machine? Come on.
No, they're a well-run in terms of coaching and like finding random players to work. So from that standpoint, maybe I could trust in
and you add Julio Jones to that team, they're going to be unstoppable. You're telling me right now, Julio Jones goes to Seattle, they're not going to be on Vegas's top 3 favorites?
Of course they are.
So what are you arguing about?
People love flashy teams.
So what are you arguing about?
Flashy doesn't always win.
So flashy doesn't always win. Who's going to stop them? Who is going to stop them offensively, defensively?
A team that has a good pass rush against a terrible offensive line.
Okay. So Russell Wilson.
Who's stopping Aaron Donald on that offensive line?
Russell Wilson had 3.5 seconds to throw the ball last year with just Lockett and DK Metcalf. What do you think he's going to have when he has Julio Jones?
Okay, that still downgrades the value of all the receivers though when you don't have a good offensive line. Look at the Browns when they got all those.
Speedy, where was DK Metcalf?
Line.
How many yards and how many touchdowns did DK Metcalf have last year?
It was in the low 1100s and I think 7 touchdowns.
What did Tyler Lockett have?
1,006.
1,006. And you're telling me their offensive line isn't decent enough to keep him on the feet to get those type of touchdowns and yards?
Russell Wilson is great. He's the best player extender in the league.
You said he's great now with Julio Jones. It makes it better. It makes it better.
It still doesn't improve that other aspect.
No, it wasn't. But their wide receivers still were great. And now you're adding arguably one of the best, most talented wide receivers in the NFL to your roster. It makes you that much better. It does. It does. It's not even an argument. DK Metcalf last year had 83 receptions, 1,300 yards, 10 touchdowns. Okay? That's from a bad offensive line. Tyler Lockett. Let's go to Tyler Lockett. Tyler Lockett last year, it's coming up, 1,054, 100 receptions, 10 touchdowns. And they had a bad offensive line. You put Julio Jones to that offense, they're unstoppable. There's nobody that's going to stop them.
Well,
Nobody.
I understand they don't have balance.
Nobody's stopping them, Speedy. Nobody.
All right.
Nobody.
The flaws of the rest of the team, if they are still hindering, they're not going to go anywhere. They could be a playoff team, but
you'll never admit that you're wrong on this. And it's
again, like Carl was saying in the comments. Miraculously, they have a defense that all their young players start to play well. They're random.
They were ranked 13th in defense last year.
All right, fine.
13th.
Fine. Let's see how they do when they don't have to play the god-awful NFC East.
Is that your excuse now? Is that what you're going to bring?
You were saying the worst division in sports.
It is.
Okay.
But what does that have anything to do with what they did defensively?
You don't think that could rig the numbers?
Speedy, come on, man. They were 13th in all of the league in defense with that bad roster. 13th. Even if they're 15th this year, they're a Super Bowl contender.
Okay, if
with
they're
Julio
15th,
Jones.
I'd be impressed. That's fine. I'd be impressed.
They're bringing back the same defense as they did last year. Same defense. So what makes you think they're going to be worse?
Because they're very streaky players.
And they're going to be a better defense because they added defensive players to that roster in the draft.
Like I said, if their young players develop and they start to actually get some level of balance, either in the secondary or with their edge rushers, they can do it. But right now, on paper, it doesn't look good.
Come on, Speedy. You're going to sound like crazy.
They don't play the game on paper.
I didn't say they did. That's why I said the coaching is fine. If that's what happens, that's a hell of a coaching job. I'll give them credit. It's still not a great way for a GM to build a roster and hope for the best.
Don't worry, Speedy. Tomorrow's another day. Maybe you'll be better.
Jeff, thanks, man.
I just can't wait. Errol, why do you? I owe Josh an apology. I just want to do this right now and get it out. Josh, I'm very sorry. I'm sorry. I was going to replace you with Gerard. Speedy, you should be the odd guy out. And I apologize, Josh. I missed that one. I got that one wrong.
I appreciate you admitting it. It's okay. Trust me, I admit things I'm wrong 95% of the time, Jeff. Don't worry about it.
Can someone name one thing Speedy got right tonight?
Hey, this Errol and I weren't even here. It was Jeff and Speedy tonight.
Yeah, everything wrong. Ryan Jensen was signed 3 years ago, not this offseason. Julio Jones' contract. Oh, we weren't specifically talking about the Seahawks. Jason Tatum's over it. What did you get right tonight, Speedy? Well, you managed to turn on the switchboard so you could go live on air and show everyone your act. That's what you did tonight.
An act? Really?
Really?
What do you think? I'm just faking information just to argue. What am I, Mikey C now?
No,
What information did you get right?
We don't know. I don't know what I got right. You're projecting something that hasn't happened yet.
No. Actually, what was Julio Jones' contract? You said $20 million.
Okay,
no,
whatever.
Sorry,
all right, fine. I'm. Everything else is an opinion. I know. I got the contract wrong, and I know I got the defensive rank wrong. Okay.
No. Ryan Jensen was not signed this offseason.
Yeah, and again, you are whatever. Like I said, I messed up the wording on that one. But
that's right.
I was talking about the rebuilding process of the Buccaneers, though.
In other words, you were wrong.
Okay. In other words, I was talking about the rebuilding process of the Buccaneers.
So
one more question for you, Speedy. Is Seattle a Super Bowl contender with Julio Jones next year?
Yes, they are. Are they your favorite?
No, I didn't say that. Are they?
Yes,
Nobody's a
of course
favorite.
They're a contender.
Nobody's a favorite.
All right.
I'm not sure the Buccaneers are a favorite right now.
Yes, they're a favorite. Right. That's fine. Yes, they're a contender, to answer your question.
Okay. So that's all I wanted to know.
But I don't want to give up a second and fourth to be a contender because that price is just paid.
Okay. Carl says, remember, 7th ranked, 11th ranked, and 13th ranked with an average of 11 means non-balanced. That's what Carl said.
Carl's exactly right. And another thing Speedy got wrong. They have no balance. And then they have exactly balance.
Iffy running back, iffy tight end, if terrible offensive line.
But it works for them.
Somehow, some way. It's a miracle. Miracles are miracles for a reason.
But it works for them. And now you
for
add
one season? Okay.
And you add Julio Jones to that roster.
But this is the problem with what we're doing. Speedy has his idea of what perfection is. And the fact of the matter is, there's no magic recipe to what success is. Each team every year has done it their own kind of way, but Speedy believes there's only one right way to do things.
No, I'm saying name a roster that was as bad as this Seahawks team that won a Super Bowl. I still haven't found it.
Better than the roster, but they're
the Tampa Bay Buccaneers
in 2003. The 2003 Buccaneers?
No, from last year.
Oh, come on, Jeff.
No. That you wanted it. There it is. It was
ending this.
The exact same team with 3 different players. So it's exactly the same.
Come on, Jeff. The overall team was better than what the Seahawks' current team was. Now the only thing is Seahawks had a superstar quarterback that aided a lot of the holes of it.
Again, you're completely wrong. The Buccaneers missed the playoffs last year. Missed the playoffs and then won the Super Bowl with essentially exactly the same team.
Okay. Young players got better. If the Seahawks young players got better, like I was saying to Carl, I'll admit I'm wrong.
Shit.
I don't trust them. The Tampa Bay had guys like Devin White that were top prospects. Who's Seattle's? Like, who's this great draft pick on defense? And I'm so excited for this Seattle team. Who? Jordan Brooks?
Speedy, you gotta call it an evening, man. You're not. It's crazy, dude.
You lost on this one, Speedy.
Come on, Speedy.
You lost on all of them.
You lost on this one.
Lost on all accounts.
You did.
But he refuses to say I'm wrong.
Again, I'll judge in the season. If their defense is above average, again, fine. But
how are you going to judge if they don't get Julio Jones? Because that's what this entire
the whole thing was.
Well, obviously, right? Obviously, but
it'd be funny
if they get Julio Jones and still have that same defense. If their defense takes a step up, I'll admit I'm wrong. Fine.
You know what's funny? Really quick. You know what's funny?
A team could be. You don't know what they could be unless he gets there. You can't just say, "Oh, well, they wouldn't have been good or they would have been better."
Okay.
Unless it happens, you're never gonna
I
know.
hope he goes to Seattle. I really.
If he doesn't go to Seattle, this entire
No, it's not. No, it's not, because it's very interesting how he argued it, but his arguments are false. They're wrong. They're wrong because he said they weren't very well balanced. They are very well
No,
balanced.
I was going to say the argument is even more intriguing wherever he ends up. You were assuming I was going to say it's a waste.
No, this argument was a very.
This wasn't a waste.
No, I think it was very entertaining, but I think Speedy every time, and Speedy, you were wrong on a lot of these things because in thought, when you look at the scenario of where both teams are, if they add Julio Jones, they're an automatic contender. It's not. You're talking about Seattle's probably ranked 7th or 8th to win the Super Bowl, and they're probably a 50 to 1 odds of winning a Super Bowl. They're going to go all the way up to a 15 to 1 or a 12 to 1 favorite of winning the Super Bowl this year if they add Julio Jones. He makes them that much better. He does. He makes them that much better.
All right. I just think you're still judging other aspects from football's perspective. If they can make the leap like the Buccaneers did with their young defensive players, yes, they will do that.
Speedy, would you just agree with me that I've been arguing you've been wrong about everything all night? Would you?
Yeah, I know. I'll admit the numeric things. Yeah. The numeric things.
Hold on. You would agree that I've been arguing that you've been wrong the entire night.
With the numeric things, sure. With the opinion things is my opinion.
Whatever you want to say, but you'd admit I've been arguing you've been wrong.
That's fine. Yeah. I will admit the numeric things.
You realize that you sounded so stupid. You forced the Bees to agree with me twice.
Okay. All right. It was bound to happen.
I don't think it ever was going to happen.
What do you think that says about what you're arguing?
That I'm judging on roster construction? I mean,
you forced the Beeve to agree with me twice, and you know that's the last thing on this planet that kid wants to do. And you now have to sit there and you should really sit back and think, oh my God, what the hell did I do that made that happen?
It was bound to happen at some
point. Twice.
I didn't think it was ever
all
going to
streaks
happen.
coming to an end. Jeff.
No, I didn't think it was ever going to happen. The Beeve would never agree to him, and you know.
But this is what I'm saying. Sometimes you need to step back and go, how did the planets align just so that would happen, and then maybe rethink your stance on a thing or two.
Okay. Again, there's a lot of factors to trust that kind of thing to happen. They haven't happened yet. If Julio Jones goes to Seattle, and like I said, if the Seahawks defense can get better like Tampa's did from 19 to 20, then okay. And same thing with their offensive line. That is the other big thing. If that happens, okay, I will directly tweet you. I was wrong in big letters, Jeff.
No, you're very bad at tweets. That's for sure.
Okay.
He likes random.
I don't want to hear it.
Okay. Jeff, again, I will directly say I was wrong if that scenario happens.
You've never admitted you were wrong about anything. All you do is say, "Oh, I slipped the word."
Okay, all right, I did in that instance though, which is not like me.
No,
Jeff, thanks, man. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Dude, I'm going to take so many narcotics tonight, and I'm going to drink myself away. Like this is just. I mean, I never thought that I would be looking forward to Mark on the show tomorrow to have some common sense.
Thanks, Jeff.
Bye, Jeff.
Josh, I miss you, buddy.
I miss you too, pal. Listen, when Lyle calls it tomorrow and the Bruins win, rub it in his face, would you?
By the way, Snug says, hooray for drugs.
Dude, I'm telling you, I've never done heroin, but I'm considering it tonight. I mean, I might try to ride the lightning, bro. Like, this has just been, Speedy is just like, he's draining. He's actually draining.
Well, that's it. Thanks, Jeff.
I don't know what to say.
Read off what everybody read before.
Carl says, remember 7th ranked, 11th ranked, 13th ranked defense means non-balanced. Ha ha ha. Sorry, 9th instead of 7th. Snug says, good is the enemy of perfection. Hooray for drugs, like you said. Oh, wow, a Mikey C shot. I do miss Mikey. He was always right. No, he wasn't. Ben says, tune in tomorrow for the Jeff and Speedy show. Carl says, level of balance. Carl says, Errol, you've left the softball and enough for Speedy. He ain't hitting it. Let's move on. Speedy thinks we're talking about the Houston Oilers. Welcome back to the Bears in 2006 with Rex Grossman. Snug says Julio Jones will make a wonderful backup punter. Carl says it's not a general because any team could make a trade offer for Julio right now. That's not what I mentioned that too, Carl. Carl says, what rank were the Chiefs D when they won the Super Bowl? They were 12th overall, and they were good against the pass. They were, I think, 22nd or something against the run, though. And again, they did actually improve their defense that offseason. That was a big reason.
Just keep reading.
Really, Carl, dark sausage, not Bush. Ben says Subcat starting holder. Says Carl. Ben says Carl, rate or not. Carl says not one person participating in anything was agreeing with me on anything this evening. He still hasn't admitted he was wrong. He even got that wrong, admitting he was wrong. Snug says hopefully Mark paid his electric bill. The Beef says I take Jones on the Cowboys. And Jeff says dumbest comments award to this guy, referring to the Beef. Well, it was only a matter of time for Jeff to actually attack the Beef.
I think he was talking to you.
No, it says Jeff replied to Mike.
Wow. Anyways, wow, what a show.
I'll say.
What a show.
Speedy went through puberty tonight. It was unbelievable. I didn't know how to react.
What a show. We didn't even get to half the stuff that we needed to talk
Yeah, really. You know, you mocked me for sending the 4 topics on the group. We only got to a fourth.
Carl says, wash some underwear tonight, Speedy.
Thank you.
Oh, my God.
Thank you, Carl. I'll do it just for you, Carl.
Speedy, tomorrow you'll wear your jock strap. You'll
a new day tomorrow for you.
And then you'll go crazy.
That's a new day for you because the Knicks are out of the playoffs and the Duke Blue Devils are going to have a new coach. We'll get into John Shire tomorrow. I have my own thoughts to what Duke is going to do moving forward as a college, as a basketball collegiate team. So, and I'm a Duke fan, so I'm not very happy. Coach K is stepping down after next year. So we will get into that. And I definitely have my own thoughts to the take on Coach K coming out today and announcing he is going to retire in 2022.
Carl, play this show for your students tomorrow, Josh. So he says, God, the Beeve is a moron. I feel bad for Long Island. Only a matter of time until he gets kicked off the island. Jeff says, hopefully Speedy doesn't make it in tomorrow. And Carl says, easy on John Shire. That is my former player.
I am not a John Shire fan. I'm a big-time Duke Blue Devils fan. I grew up a Duke fan with Christian Laettner, and Bobby Early was one of my favorite players growing up. I do not like.
Listen, let's call it what it is before we go. Listen, what's the big story tomorrow?
What's the big story tomorrow?
What's the big one tomorrow? Let's call it what it is.
What is the big story tomorrow?
Come on, what is it? What do you think it is?
What do you think it is?
What?
I don't know. You tell me.
Speedy, what do you think it is?
We're asking what you think it is. You're the one.
No, I'm asking you to guess.
I don't know. Tell us.
I would say Coach K.
The Knicks getting knocked out?
No. We need to get the reaction of when Lyle calls in.
Oh, God, please.
After the Islanders Bruins game, how he's going to feel.
Oh,
I got to tell you something. That boy is a wave of emotions.
That gets a heart attack. If the Islanders win the game, he's gonna be, oh my God!
Did you see, dude?
Barzal is overrated.
He told Chip to shut the hell up. I'm speaking 2 weeks ago, and then he calls me 2 nights ago after the Islanders beat the Bruins because he was ecstatic. But his excuse to me was, "I'm calling in to know about the topics for the wrestling show on Tuesday." This was when did they beat Boston? They beat Sunday.
Yes.
Yeah. I said to Lyle, I said, "Would you have?" I said to him, I said, would you have called me?
It was Saturday. They beat Boston.
I said, would you have called me if the Bruins won? Do you think he would have called me about the wrestling topics?
No.
Absolutely not.
No.
And that's what he does. That's very annoying.
Well, I hope the Islanders win. I'm not on it. And by the way, Mark Kelly tells me that Valama, they wanted to see what Valama, if he was 100% healthy, you will see Sorokin in game number 3. You will not see Sorokin for the rest of this series. I think Barry Trotz was wrong. I think he made a big mistake. Valama played a very good game, but I think Sorokin could have done the same. Sorokin had one bad game. One. And by the way, two of the goals one bounced off his own player. The other one was a bad deflection. It wasn't his fault. So I just Barry Trotz was wrong.
Ben says Badgers greater than Duke. Jeff responds, spoke too soon.
What drugs is he on?
This comment, Jeff says, spoke too soon. This comment was dumber.
More national champions, Duke. What was the better winning percentage? Duke. Who's had a better coach? One of the world-renowned coaches of all time, Duke. Enough said. There is no Badger team.
I think he was being sarcastic.
I know. He's a Badger.
I love Ben. I know.
He's a Badger.
Dude, he was great on the wrestling show yesterday. I love Ben.
Stug says Earl helps pick up a dead body and putting it back on a stretcher. Stug says you could not have enough Lyle on the show. Carl says Lyle and Errol versus Jeff and Josh on Islander Takes tomorrow. Jeff says Monday.
It was Monday.
Yeah, and referring to the Islanders. And then Carl says, "Oh Jesus." Mark chimes in, Lake. Snug says, Who's heading to the bottom of the ACC?
Duke. Yes, John Shire being the coach. I wouldn't doubt it. I'm not taking shots at your guy, Carl, but you're giving a guy that has no experience as a head coach, who's now got to have to recruit. And Coach K used his name. What is he using? His underwear? I mean, seriously.
Now you're saying they're going to fit Wes, and he's using his underwear to recruit.
He's going to do something. How is he going to recruit? How is he going to recruit players when he's not Coach K?
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, you said I'm not trying to insult him, but I'm saying they're going to finish last, and he's going to use his underwear to recruit.
And I'm telling you right now, who are they going to get? Who are they going to be able to recruit? It's Duke, yes. But they're not. It's not Coach K anymore. It's not the reputation anymore. So John Shire is going to have to start from scratch, and he's got to make a name. It's going to take years to build the program again. So
Jeff says people who watch wrestling need.
And by the way, Carl says Shire got Zion there. Yeah, he got Zion there because Coach K was there.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Let's be honest here. I mean, you're talking about a guy that coached Team USA basketball, and every single player, every single NBA player says he's the greatest coach they've ever been coached by, including LeBron James. So what does that tell you? John Shire's not going to he's not going to be coaching Team USA basketball. So I'm sorry, man.
Stuck says, I don't know, probably has to do with, he probably had to go to jail if he's busy showing high school kids his underwear.
You mean college kids? So, high school kids.
No,
yeah,
some comments at high school.
Well, he's probably right, but maybe that's the only way it's going to draw people to come and play for Duke. I'm telling you, as a Duke fan, I'm not very happy with that selection. I think Coach K made a big mistake. I do. And I think we'll know that 3 years down the road when he gets fired. John Shire will get fired. Mm-hmm. And they'll be looking to bring in a big name to coach that team. Because I would have reached out to Rick Pitino. I would have reached out to somebody that is a big name that would love to come and coach Duke. A world-renowned collegiate school that's known for their basketball. I think it's a terrible move by Coach K, but we'll talk about that more tomorrow.
Carl says, I know it will be tough, not saying he will be good, but just don't take shots at him.
I'm
since
not.
Speedy says you can't judge it because it hasn't happened.
No, I'm not. Listen, I remember when I was a player. I'm a big Duke fan. I remember John Shire, shooting guard, point guard, guard play. Remember him. He was a decent shooter, decent player, and he's been on his coaching staff for the last 3 years. John Shire doesn't have the experience to take over a top-end collegiate ACC school basketball organization. It's a big mistake, and I'm telling you, he will be fired within 3 years.
Snug says Bobby Knight. Snug, I wish, but likely not happening.
I wish too. I'm a Duke fan.
I know. I'd love to see Bobby Knight coach again.
I mean,
I agree.
Rick Pitino's a guy that I would probably absolutely love for to even discuss an interview.
Yeah, he's gonna another big job because he's already done a nice job with Iona the first year that he's been there. So I could definitely see it maybe 3 or 4 years once again. He got let go of big with all the sanctions that come in. But once those goes away,
Dick Bennett, Ben says there are a ton of guys that he could have picked to be his next predecessor for him as a head coach. I think it's a terrible move.
And the way college coaches move around too, it could even happen faster than that.
Look what happened to UConn.
Right.
Look what happened to UConn. And by the way, you're going to say, well, he went to a national championship. Yeah, with guess who? With whose team? With his recruits.
Yeah.
The Duke had a terrible recruiting class this year. They didn't even make the They didn't even make the tournament. Right. And now next year, if they don't make the tournament, which they will, because they have a strong recruiting class this year. After this, who does he have? Who does John Shire? What is John Shire going to have? Unless Coach K does the recruiting, and even that, if they're not getting coached by Coach K, why would they go to that school?
I doubt he would want to get involved with that.
Look what North Carolina did. Look what North Carolina did after what's his name again stepped down.
Roy Williams.
Yeah, and they added a coach from his coaching staff, but a more known coach that's coached before. I mean, this is a bad move by Duke.
They've been downfalling as a program, too, since their national title, though, North Carolina. So it's not like they're doing
Carl says Michigan's the new Duke.
Michigan, the new Duke. All right, well.
Probably.
They've
Howard there.
They've been even the last 5 years, they've been a strong program. They have to win something first before they could be called the new Duke.
Duke's done, man. Duke won't win for 5-6 years. You won't see. They won't even be a peep. They'll probably miss the tournament for like 2 or 3 years.
I can see that.
I don't think John Shire was the right decision. I don't.
And again, like I said, with the way college coaches are perched more often from the non-Power 5 teams, it could even happen faster than that if Shire doesn't have success right away because it's Duke. You're supposed to do well at Duke. You have that kind of reputation.
No, they'll give him 3 years. They'll give him 3 years. Coach K is
I think most likely, yeah. I'm just saying if the one scenario presents itself where you have like maybe Gonzaga's coach or something like that says, I want to go coach Duke.
You give a guy 3 years on your bench. 3. You have other coaches that went other places that would come here with a blink of an eye if the job was available.
Oh, easily.
And he didn't even think of those coaches that were successful other places that worked under him. He took John Shire. I mean, John Shire's been there for 3 years. He was on the team 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, they want to keep the brand.
It's just terrible. It's a terrible move by Coach K. It really is. I think it really sets Duke back at least 5-6 years.
Carl says Rick Pitino, he sold his soul at Louisville. And he also says Brad Stevens to Duke in 4 years based on Errol's take.
I could see that. I could see that. Yeah, I could see that. I can absolutely see Brad Stevens going to Duke and taking over that program.
If Indiana could pay him all the money that he was offered, Duke definitely can.
Yeah, I think this was a terrible move by Duke. And as a Duke fan, I am not excited about it. I'm not excited about it. It pissed me off. I'm happy that Coach K is leaving on a good note. This guy is one of the greatest coaches in any sport. Okay. And the fact that, and by the way, he didn't buy his players. There was nothing that really came out in any years that he bought his team, bought Zion, or bought any of these guys. I mean, there were stories coming out.
There were rumors, but there was nothing confirmed.
There was nothing confirmed about it. Nothing. Not like Pitino, not like over there in Memphis with Derrick Rose. Yeah. There was nothing. Kentucky, nothing. Coach K has been doing it. He's been doing it legitimately all those years. And unfortunately, what are they going to do now that a coach is gone? I don't know how they're going to win.
Sean Miller did it multiple times at Arizona and still couldn't make a Final Four.
Man, it's sad. It really is. It's disgusting. I'm not happy about this, but as a Duke fan, and I grew up a Duke fan, I am not happy, and it's going to be hard to watch.
Snug says, I think Zion is under investigation currently. Yeah, maybe he still is, but like we said, nothing confirmed.
Nothing has been confirmed.
Carl says, did he pay for Grayson Allen? Haha, JK.
And by the way, Snug, they've been investigating for 1.5 years. They're not finding anything. If they were going to find something, they would have found it already. Yeah. If they can investigate whatever they want, they're not going to find nothing. And Coach K is retiring, so it's over. And to me, he's been the most cleanest coach we've seen in 25 years, and nothing has come out that he's done anything illegal or wrong in the NCAA rules. So that's it, unfortunately. But that's it for our show, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back tomorrow. It's going to be a good show tomorrow. We'll get into everything that we missed today. I'm going to see if Mark's going to come on tomorrow. We just got to, and tomorrow we'll stay on topics. Shout out to Jeff for calling up and just going all over the place with Speedy, but he really made sense on what he was saying, and even the Beav agreed with him, which I'm surprised about that. You know, who would have thought that the Beav was going to agree with Jeff?
All streaks coming to an end.
Streaks. I mean, I didn't think it was possible. There was no streak to it. I didn't think that was possible. You made it possible, Speedy.
Yes, so.
You went out of your way to make it.
Speedy, you're doing God's work. Good for you.
You are out of your fucking mind. Excuse my language, but you are all over the place today, man. I mean, you just to say that they weren't well balanced, they were.
Don't get back. No,
I'm not getting
bad arrow. Bad job.
I'm just by the way, Carl says regroup, Speedy. History says worst first can happen. So worst to first can happen. So yeah,
No,
you're right.
Only the 49ers went from 3-13 to a Super Bowl, but okay.
But you made your points and your players, but they weren't valid points and they were off. And you went all over the place with the Julio Jones thing. I really do believe that. So, but that's it. We will be back tomorrow. Me, Josh, Speedy. Shout out to all the fans. I'm sure all the fans are going to love this take with Jeff's craziness today. That was definitely a sellable show and a show we'll always remember. That's for sure. Oh, by the way, Carl says, so it happened. Exactly my point. Jesus, still can't be wrong, Carl says. Oh, man. That's it. We'll be back tomorrow. Until then, this is Errol Marks, Speedy Petey, and Josh Homer Silverberg saying good night, and we'll talk to you then. Good night, everybody.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.